Chapter 23-22. Time flew by. As time passed, the chaos in the heavens became more and more serious. Even the heavenly Tao lost its order. All kinds of laws and rules in the world of cultivators also disappeared. It was like the end of the world. The heavenly realms were destroyed and countless gods died. At this time, the most worthless thing was human life. It was even more lowly than an ant or a blade of grass. Between people and between forces, there were no longer any restrictions. In order to fight for resources and for the chance to live, there were also people who simply wanted to vent their last madness after despair. Fierce battles were happening every moment. QL11, not only the heavenly realms and star regions, but even the Hunyuan heaven outside of Yuan Tiangong also began to fight crazily. In the square heaven, Xuanxin, who was in charge of the square heaven, looked more and more haggard. The divine phoenix ancient clan sent news that Su Fang and goddess Luo were now trapped in the prison suppressing codex. There was no chance of survival. The news spread throughout the Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan heaven. Everyone in the square heaven knew about it. The entire square heaven was filled with great sorrow and despair. The impact of Su Fang's death also began to appear day by day. In the Yuan Tiangong, everything that belonged to Su Fang was taken away. Even the land in the Yellow Territory was taken back by the Yuan Tiangong. Fortunately, Xuanxin also had a piece of land in the Yellow Territory. Sun Qi also had a large piece of land. They all gave it to Xu Yunkong. Xian Lingzi and the others all settled down. After so many years of development, they were already self-sufficient in the Yuan Tiangong. The key was that there were so many people in the square heaven. It was impossible to move all of them to the Yuan Tiangong. They couldn't afford to raise them at all. Especially the many cultivators from the great worlds who had moved to the square heaven. Many of them hadn't become gods and couldn't leave the square heaven. These people were Su Fang's family, as well as his best friends and subordinates in the great worlds. Xuanxin had to bear the great pain and shoulder the responsibility. Xuanxin, a wisp of primordial spirit, was transmitted over and quickly condensed into a lifelike image of a white-robed woman. Xuanxin bowed respectfully. Master. It turned out to be Xuanxin's master, a powerful cultivator from the Ice Phoenix clan of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Thank you for your hard work. The woman in white looked at Xuanxin with pity in her eyes. Then he continued, the upper echelons of the clan have ordered you to come back quickly. The higher-ups believe that as a disciple of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, you should serve the clan. Now that the myriad worlds are in chaos, you should return to Yuan Tiangong to cultivate and improve your strength and rank. You can also bring great benefits to the clan. Disciple understands. Once I've dealt with the matter of the heaven realm, I'll return to Yuan Tiangong. In addition, Di Yuan is about to set off for the celestial worthy mountain. There are many Yuan Tiangong geniuses following him. The clan has arranged for you to go to the exalted celestial mountain together with Di Yuan. Su Fang immediately became alert. What is the clan's intention? If Di Yuan enters the exalted celestial worthy mountain and finds a way to stop the changes in heaven and earth, then he will be the savior of the myriad worlds. In addition, he is from the imperial people, so he will definitely be nurtured well in the future. Not only will he have a chance to become a venerable sovereign, but he might even become the most powerful cultivator in the myriad worlds. He will become the hope of the clan. I understand the clan's intention. Master, please tell the upper echelons of the clan that although I, Xuanxin, am a disciple of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, I am not an object to be traded. My fate is decided by me. All thoughts of using me to exchange for benefits are best not to even think about it. Xuanxin said firmly. His tone was filled with a rare heroic spirit and domineering aura that was rarely seen in women. You're on your own. The image dissipated into nothingness. The Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan is forcing you again? A bunch of fence-sitters. They all deserve to be killed. A black-robed man passed through the array and walked into Xuanxin's palace. This man's appearance was exactly the same as Su Fang's. He exuded a cold, murderous aura. His eyes were so deep that one would feel like they would be sucked in with just one look. The second primordial spirit. This black-robed man was the second primordial spirit, whose physical body was the immortal demon monster. The immortal demon monster was a supreme physical body that Su Fang had obtained by chance. It had the power of the immortal demon monster, which was a combination of the power of the immortals and the demons. Not only was its physical body strong, but its strength was also powerful and incomparably strange. After ascending to the divine realm, after so many years of improvement, the immortal demon monster was no longer the immortal demon monster of the great world. It was a kind of divine demon monster. However, the second primordial spirit had been in the Hunyuan heaven realm all these years, developing the assassin organization Soulless. Therefore, the divine demon monster had almost no chance to use its physical body. Su Fang's original body had fallen. The second primordial spirit and Xuanxin, one in the light and the other in the dark, were guarding the heaven realm. Xuanxin explained the whole story to the second primordial spirit. The second primordial spirit said coldly, "Go mingle in the Yuan Tiangong. The improvement of your status and strength will be the greatest guarantee for the heaven realm. Leave the heaven realm to me. I'll kill whoever dares to humiliate the heaven realm." Xuanxin could not help but shudder. The second primordial spirit's current primordial spirit power had long surpassed that of an ordinary lord. Combined with the divine demon monster's physical body, it could easily crush an intermediate lord. What was even more terrifying was that after so many years of secret development, the second primordial spirit had used its enchantment of night to secretly control countless experts. It had infiltrated every faction in the Hunyuan heaven realm, and even the upper echelons of some major factions. Right now, the second primordial spirit was a king hiding in the dark. I am also relieved to hand over this celestial world to you. But, if you can endure, then you must. All the influences of Primordius Heaven World are inextricably linked to Primordius Heavenly Palace. If a truly powerful powerhouse is alarmed, then the masters you secretly control won't be able to play much of a role. Xuanxin warned it carefully. After a moment's hesitation, he could not help but ask, "Second primordial spirit, are you sure that Su Fang hasn't perished?" "You ask this question almost every day," the second primordial spirit said coldly. "That's right. I've only lost contact with my original body, but I haven't perished. It's not just me. The clone that my original body left behind in the heaven realm to accompany my father also hasn't sensed anything." Xuanxin breathed a sigh of relief. "If my original body had perished, I would definitely have sensed it. Moreover, according to the Yuan Tiangong's upper echelons, my original body perished in the Prison Suppression Codex. The Prison Suppression Codex's power is the power of heavenly Tao. If my original body had perished, even if I hadn't been obliterated by the power of heavenly Tao, my vitality would have been greatly damaged. Su Fang and Goddess Luo will definitely return safely." The light of hope flashed in Xuanxin's eyes. Suddenly, the divine demon monster's brows furrowed. "Someone important is coming. I'll leave first." Xuanxin also frowned. He walked out of the palace and looked at the sky above the heaven realm. He saw a magnificent palace floating in the sky above the heaven realm. It blocked out the light and stood above the heaven realm in an extremely domineering manner. Xuanxin's eyes exuded coldness. The Sanctum of Sages. It turned out that the palace was Su Fang's Sanctum of Sages. Su Fang was judged to have perished, so the Sanctum of Sages was naturally taken back by the Yuan Tiangong. Di Yuan was selected as the candidate to enter the celestial worthy mountain, and his identity was also changed. He replaced Su Fang as the Yuan Tiangong's saint, and the sanctum of sages naturally became his palace. At this moment, he actually showed the sanctum of sages in the sky above the heaven realm. It was obvious that he was showing off and demonstrating his power. The cultivators in the heaven realm were alarmed by the sanctum of sages. After learning about the origin of the sanctum of sages and guessing Di Yuan's intentions, they all felt angry and humiliated. Di Yuan's calm voice sounded from the sanctum of sages. "Xuanxin, come up and see this saint." Xuanxin's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of the sanctum of sages. The barrier of the sanctum of sages automatically opened up, and Xuanxin entered the sanctum of sages. Not only Di Yuan, but many geniuses in the Yuan Tiangong, including the remaining geniuses in the Heaven Realm dojos and most of the Earth Realm geniuses, were in the sanctum of sages. Not only the geniuses in the Yuan Tiangong, but there were also close to 100 over-god experts following Di Yuan. Moreover, there were a few incomparably ethereal auras in the depths of the sanctum of sages. They should be the sovereigns who followed Di Yuan around to protect him. Su Fang's 1,000 Dao integration stage bodyguards and Ash Flame C had all become Di Yuan's bodyguards. Xuanxin said bluntly, "Young Master Di Yuan, I should call you Saint Di Yuan. Aren't you going to the celestial worthy mountain? Coming to the heaven realm, could it be that you're here to show off your might? How dare you speak to Saint Di Yuan in such a tone?" A young man wearing a long robe with a blue and white flower heavenly mark shouted angrily. So it was the genius of the Heaven Realm dojos, Duanmu Renjie. As they had offended Su Fang, the Duanmu divine clan had been forced to send Duanmu Renjie to the 10,000 demon abyss to train. Unexpectedly, he had come out alive and was already a second stage Dao integration stage cultivator. Di Yuan waved his hand and looked at Xuanxin. "Su Fang has already fallen. You should get rid of the past as soon as possible and pull yourself together. I don't want the Yuan Tiangong to lose another peerless genius in the future." There was an air of superiority in his casual tone. "Thank you for your reminder, Saint Di Yuan. I'm going to the celestial worthy mountain soon to resolve the calamity for the myriad worlds. I specially came to invite you to go with me. What do you think, Miss Xuanxin?" Di Yuan looked as if he had placed the safety of the 10,000 worlds in his hands, which made Xian Xin feel disgusted. She said coldly, "I wish the Saint Child victory. As for the Saint Child's good intentions, I appreciate it." With that, Xuanxin turned and left the Saint Temple. A hint of gloominess flashed across Di Yuan's deep eyes. His gaze was noticed by the people around him. Immediately, an overgod secretly sent a message with his soul and made some arrangements. Duanmu Renjie said, "Saint, this Huang Xuanxin is just a used shoe that Su Fang played with. Saint Di Yuan will save the myriad worlds. When the time comes, which woman in the myriad worlds won't flock to Saint Di Yuan? Why would I be interested in her? I'm just concerned about Su Fang's Dao companion because of my past relationship with him." Di Yuan smiled nonchalantly. "Let's go to the celestial worthy mountain." Chapter 23:23. On the second day after Xuanxin left the celestial realm, an old man in a 7-star Taoist robe came to the celestial realm with a dozen experts. This was the sect master of the Big Dipper sect. He had been blackmailed by Su Fang for poaching talents from the celestial realm. Xu Yunkong met him personally. "I've come this time to take back the resources plundered by Su Fang." The Big Dipper sect's aggressive visit this time was actually to take revenge for what happened in the past. With the support of Xuanxin's Heavenly Realm Dojo, Xing Wuji and Mo Tiangong, and the Hunyuan Heaven's Punishment Hall Master taking good care of the celestial realm, the Big Dipper sect would not dare to act recklessly in the celestial realm even if Su Fang had fallen. Xu Yunkong knew very well that the Big Dipper sect's sudden visit must have been ordered by someone in the dark. The person who ordered the Big Dipper sect must have a powerful background that could ignore the celestial realm's support. The Big Dipper sect was a vassal force of the Luo clan. The celestial realm had lost Su Fang and did not have much confidence to fight against the Big Dipper sect. Shu Yunkong could only swallow his anger and deal with the Big Dipper sect's sect master. Who knew before he could deal with the Big Dipper sect's sect master, the Sanskrit sect's sect master also came to the celestial realm with experts. Their purpose was similar to the Big Dipper sect's, and they were even more aggressive. Shu Yunkong had no choice but to contact Mo Tiangong and Sheng Wuji secretly. In less than half an hour, Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong flew into the sky. Even if Su Fang has fallen, we will not allow you to act recklessly here. The bad-tempered Sheng Wuji activated his divine power and caused the experts of the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit to spit out blood. My lords, Su Fang has fallen. Don't offend the Sanskrit sect master for a dead man. The Sanskrit sect master threatened without hiding anything. Mo Tiangong shouted coldly, even if Su Fang has fallen, we will not allow you shameless people to bully his family and friends. At that moment, a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the entire celestial realm, causing the weather to change. Heaven and earth. Not just the celestial realm, the entire celestial realm trembled under this pressure. All of the gods within primordious heaven felt boundless awe surge from their hearts. They bowed towards the punishment hall near the entrance of primordious heavenly palace. A venerable emperor expert. Which supreme venerable sovereign has come to the celestial realm? This doesn't seem to be an emperor powerhouse from primordious heavenly palace. His aura is strange. Could it be that a new unparalleled emperor has been born in the endless heavens? Most Dipper realm venerable god had celestial great lord god sect came? Celestial sect celestial mountain the over-gods, including Mo Tiangong and Sheng Wuji, all knelt down as they trembled. At the same time they were filled with doubt. I am Ji Huang. 1,000 years ago, I became a supreme venerable emperor. From today onwards, I will personally oversee the celestial realm. A majestic voice reverberated throughout the celestial realm. Everyone could hear it clearly. Hua! Shocked exclamations sounded throughout the celestial realm. Ji Huang was the Ji people's first ancestor. No one had expected, the Ji people were defeated by Su Fang, causing countless casualties. The Ji people's peerless genius, Ji Wuji, was killed by only Dao. In the divine prison of law, the Ji people suffered even greater losses. Even the Ji people's second ancestor was trapped in the prison suppressing codex and was bound to die. The Ji people, who were once arrogant and domineering in the celestial realm, were no longer as glorious as they used to be. Sooner or later they would disappear in the long river of history. No one had expected, the Ji people's first ancestor would suddenly become a supreme venerable emperor. From today onwards, the Ji people would have a great change in their fortunes. Which cultivation force with a venerable emperor realm master wasn't a top-notch overlord force in the myriad realms. The Ji people's first ancestor had become a supreme venerable emperor, so the Ji people would definitely follow suit. Even if they couldn't become a top force in the short term, they would be able to enter the top 100 divine clans. The various forces in the celestial realm were all surprised and shocked by this news. Everyone in the celestial realm, especially the Shu clan, felt as if doomsday had arrived in advance. Everyone fell into despair. The Ji people's first ancestor had become a supreme venerable emperor and was even overseeing the celestial realm. With the blood feud between the Su Fang, the Shu clan, and the Ji people, how could they let the celestial realm off? Mo Tiangong and Sheng Wuji looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. Now that the Ji people had a supreme venerable emperor, even if they wanted to help the celestial realm in the future, they wouldn't be able to. The people from the Big Dipper sect and the Sanskrit were pleasantly surprised. They looked at Shu Yunkong as if they were looking at a dead man. The Big Dipper sect master and the Sanskrit clan master were already secretly thinking about how to build a relationship with the G people and then take the opportunity to divide the celestial realm. This emperor announces the following decree. The G people's first ancestor's voice sounded again. From today onwards, all forces in the celestial realm must transfer their experts to the blood wall to resist the resurrected experts. Ever since the celestial realm fell into chaos, the celestial realm had also suffered a violent impact. The celestial realm was the periphery of the Yuan Tiangong. Its importance was second only to the Yuan Tiangong. If the celestial realm was breached by the resurrected experts, it would mean that the celestial realm was not far from being completely destroyed. Therefore, the Supreme Venerable Emperor of the Yuan Tiangong personally took action and created a powerful defense around the celestial realm's world barrier to stop the resurrected experts from entering the celestial realm. This defense was called the Blood Wall. It meant that the Blood Wall was the last line of defense for the human race. Now that the G people's first ancestor announced that he would transfer experts from the celestial realm to defend the Blood Wall, it meant that the celestial realm situation had become increasingly serious. Every force must assist the Supreme Venerable Emperor of the Yuan Tiangong to defend a section of the Blood Wall. If the section of the Blood Wall is breached, the responsible force, no matter where they come from, will be chased out of the celestial realm. The G people's first ancestor's voice was filled with killing intent. The entire celestial realm seemed to have been sealed in ice, and all the forces trembled. The celestial realm fell into despair, and it was gloomy. Shu Yunkong's heart was heavy. Just as he was about to send the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit away, an expert from the G people came to visit. He didn't expect the G people to come so quickly. I am Ji Lai. I am here on the Supreme Venerable Emperor's orders. People of the celestial realm, why aren't you kneeling down and welcoming me? It was the G people's third ancestor, Ji Lai. He couldn't wait to come to the celestial realm. Shu Yunkong's heart sank to the bottom. Back in Keihong City, Ji Lai had been schemed against by Su Fang and almost lost his life. He had been in seclusion for many years and hadn't recovered. Now that he had come personally, it was obvious that he wanted revenge. He had no choice but to open the barrier and let the G people's third ancestor and hundreds of G people's experts into the celestial realm. The Blue Dome Domain Lord and other experts also appeared to welcome the G people's third ancestor. Su Fang, you didn't expect that your family and friends would all kneel at my feet, right? The G people's third ancestor stood in the air with his hands behind his back. He looked down at the celestial realm like a king patrolling his territory. He was very domineering and pleased. Then, the power of a lord-level expert enveloped every corner of the celestial realm. All of you, kneel down before me. Boom. The G people's third ancestor let out a thunderous roar and used the heavenly sound Great Tao Divine Power. It was as if thunder had exploded in the ears of every cultivator in the celestial realm. Ji Lai, don't go too far. Mo Tiangong and the everlasting divine light instantly unleashed their power at the same time, forming a defensive barrier that enveloped the celestial realm. However, they were still one step too late. Rumble. Screams of agony rose and fell. Countless people's eardrums were shattered. Shu Yunkong was the first to bear the brunt of the impact. He spat out blood and immediately fell into a state of severe injury. Even the experts from Sanskrit and the Big Dipper sect who stayed to watch the show were unlucky and suffered serious injuries. Fortunately, Su Fang had placed Su Yaotian and the others in the depths of the celestial realm and created a powerful defensive formation. In addition, Mo Tiangong and the everlasting divine light had attacked just now, so they were the most important people to protect. Otherwise, Ji Lai's roar alone would have killed all the cultivators who hadn't reached the true God realm. Ji Lai's divine light wrapped around Mo Tiangong and the everlasting divine light. He threatened, "Don't get yourself into trouble." The everlasting divine light shouted angrily, Ji Lai, what right do the Ji people have to come to the celestial realm to show off? Ji Lai shouted domineeringly. I came to the celestial realm under the decree of the Supreme Ji Emperor. Of course, I have the right to show off. If the two of you dare to stop me, don't blame me for mercilessly suppressing you. Mo Tiangong and the everlasting divine light could only suppress their anger and keep quiet. Ji Lai continued, Su Fong is already dead. What right do you have to occupy a realm in the Hunyuan heaven? The Ji Emperor has decreed that everyone in the celestial realm is to leave the celestial realm within 3 days. The celestial realm was in an uproar, followed by angry roars. At this moment, all the realms were in chaos. If they were chased out of the Hunyuan heaven, wouldn't they be forced to their deaths? The Azure Dome Domain Lord hesitated for a moment. He gritted his teeth and said, Lord Ji Lai, the Azure Dome Domain is only a temporary residence in the celestial realm. We have nothing to do with the Su Fong. Lord Ji Lai, please give me and the cultivators of the Azure Dome Domain a way out. Ji Lai nodded and said, As long as you are willing to join the Ji people and become a vassal force of the Ji people, I can give you a way out. It's not impossible. I am willing to join the Ji people. After thinking for a moment, the Azure Dome Domain Lord had no choice but to make a decision. Zhu Yanjun, Qishao Shinjun, and the others from the Azure Dome Domain were silent. Their eyes were filled with shame. The Star Billow Realm Lord, esteemed Kuan Su, and the other experts from the Star Billow Realm had no choice but to acquiesce. QL 11-inch today, I finally understand what it means when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Ha ha ha, Ji Lai laughed complacently. Then, he said in a voice filled with killing intent, I suspect that there are cultivators hidden and resurrected in the celestial realm. Before leaving the Hunyuan heaven, I want to search it. Shu Yunkong shouted angrily, The Ji people are too much. My race has a peerless supreme sovereign. The Ji Emperor is the sky of the Hunyuan heaven. So what if I am too much? Chapter 23-24. Then, Ji Lai waved his hand and grabbed toward the depths of the celestial realm. A terrifying howl with a terrifying aura that could destroy everything landed in the depths of the celestial realm with a loud crash. Ji Lai, you're courting death. A chilling voice rang out from the mystic realm. Then, a black-robed man flew into the air and unleashed a yin and yang divine power that was a fusion of celestial and demon. It actually dissolved Ji Lai's heavenly sound attack. However, there were still some aftershocks that shattered the defenses outside the mystic realm and rushed into the mystic realm. About 300 cultivators from the Great World were killed on the spot by the sound wave. Ji Lai was a lord powerhouse, and many cultivators from the Great World lived in the mystic realm. They were as weak as chickens in front of a lord. Kill! The black-robed man's figure flashed, and he charged toward Ji Lai with a murderous aura. Su Fong! He saw the black-robed man's face clearly. Ji Lai's divine light changed instantly, and a chill emerged from the bottom of his heart and quickly spread throughout his body. In an instant, the primordial spirit's second primordial spirit came within 1,000 miles of Ji Lai. The yin-yang celestial demon's strange divine power enveloped Ji Lai. It's not Su Fong, but Su Fong's clone. Ji Lai sensed the strength of the celestial demon monster. It was only equivalent to mid-stage Dao integration, which meant that its aura was a little strange. He immediately calmed down. The aura of a lord erupted, shattering the divine power of Su Fong's second primordial spirit. The terrifying heavenly sound formed a world in an instant. The heavenly Dao power shook, and the void distorted and collapsed. Boom! The celestial demon monster's physical body was sent flying. Its physical defenses were shattered, and its skin and flesh were lacerated. However, its physical body did not collapse, which was enough to show how powerful its physical body was. Ji Lai raised his eyebrows. Just as he was about to continue attacking, he heard a whoosh. A black Xian Guang actually ignored his world shackles and charged toward him in an instant. The primordial spirit power swept over like a tidal wave, crashing into Ji Lai's divine aperture with crushing force. Ji Lai was proficient in the heavenly sound Great Tao, and his cultivation level had reached middle rank Lord level. At the same time, his heavenly sound Great Tao special ability also contained primordial spirit attack. However, the primordial spirit's second primordial spirit waves shook his divine aperture's yang spirit was about to break. Su Feng. A cold snort came from the void, and an illusory palm print appeared. It distorted the void and locked down the world, shackling the black runes that the second primordial spirit resided in. The first ancestor of the Ji clan, who had just advanced to the Emperor realm, had actually personally taken action. Sovereign Sangqiu's illusory figure appeared, shattering the primordial spirit of the Ji clan's first ancestor. After all, how could a newly promoted Emperor realm master be a match for Emperor Sangqiu? His second essence soul took the opportunity to escape the shackles and return to the godfiend monster's body. Sangqiu, do you still want to bully my Ji clan as you did in the past? A wisp of the Ji clan's primordial spirit consciousness descended. His dignified voice was filled with killing intent. Ji Lai. Only Dao Di's primordial spirit also came out of the void. Since you've become a peerless emperor, you should have the spirit of a peerless emperor. You shouldn't make things difficult for Su Feng's family. Only Dao, are you here to meddle in my affairs? The Ji Lai's first ancestor snorted. Ji Wuji was killed by only Dao Di. Naturally, the Ji Lai's first ancestor held a grudge against him. Another peerless emperor's primordial spirit descended. Ji Lai, my fire god Zhu clan owes Su Feng a big favor. Can you give me some face this time? It was the peerless emperor from the fire god clan. 3 peerless emperors came at once. No matter how domineering the Ji people's first ancestor was, he had no choice but to give in. After all, he had just become a peerless emperor. If he really got into a conflict with the other peerless emperors, it would not only be bad for him, but also for the entire Ji people. Fine, the people of this heaven realm can stay in the Hunyuan heaven realm. However, you must obey this emperor's decree. After saying that, the Ji people's first ancestor waved his sleeves and his primordial spirit disappeared into the void. Only Dao, Sangqiu, and the peerless emperors of the fire god Zhu clan also left the heaven realm. Humph, my clan's peerless emperors are magnanimous. We'll let you linger at death's door for a while. Don't forget, the Hunyuan heaven realm now belongs to us, the supreme Ji people. Ji Lai snorted domineeringly and was about to leave with the experts of the Ji people. The second primordial spirit suddenly said coldly, "This sovereign once said that I'll take revenge if there's a grudge. If someone punches me once, I'll punch them twice." Ji Lai sneered disdainfully. A bunch of pigs and sheep waiting to be slaughtered. How dare you threaten us, the supreme Ji people? See how this king will deal with you slowly. The Big Dipper sect and the Sanskrit cultivators of the Brahma heaven realm sneered disdainfully and ridiculed him. The second primordial spirit's heart surged with killing intent. This time, more than 300 people from the heaven realm died. Let's make the Ji people pay for it with 30,000 people. This is only the interest. When this sovereign returns, this sovereign will definitely repay it with double. 3 peerless emperors had personally appeared to stand up for the heaven realm and stop the first ancestor of the Ji people. The news quickly spread throughout the Hunyuan heaven realm. The 8 forces were all shocked. Only now did they understand how powerful the Su Feng used to be. However, no one thought that the heaven realm could hold on for long. After all, Su Feng had already fallen. The favor he left behind would be used less every time it was used. It was impossible for the peerless emperors to protect the heaven realm forever. Since the first ancestor of the Ji people had become a peerless emperor, no one could shake the Ji people. In addition, the first ancestor of the Ji people, was overseeing the Hunyuan heaven realm. Sooner or later, the heaven realm would slowly be devoured. The Blue Dome domain master led many cultivators of the Blue Dome star domain and left the heaven realm. They joined the Ji people and became the Ji people's vassal forces. Although they were not slaves or puppets, they were controlled by the Ji people. This matter verified people's guesses even more. They believed that the destruction of the heavenly realm was something that would happen sooner or later. 1 year later, the Ji people held a grand celebration to congratulate the Ji people's first ancestor for becoming a peerless emperor. All the forces of the Hunyuan heaven realm sent expensive gifts and congratulated them. Even the heaven realm's Shu Yunkong personally came to congratulate them. It seemed that they had chosen to submit. The upper echelons of the Yuan Tiangong, including the peerless emperors who went to the exalted celestial mountain, also sent their avatars. The major forces of the ancient god realm also sent their upper echelons and big shot. For a time, the reputation of the Ji people soared, catching up with some of the ancient god clans in the ancient god realm. Who knew half a month after the end of the celebration, the entire Ji clan celebrated. However, someone poisoned the food and wine, causing many cultivators of the Ji clan to die. Then, the cultivators of the Ji people, who were flaunting their prowess in the Hunyuan heaven realm, were assassinated one after another. Although the casualties were not many, they were all elites of the Ji people. There was even a 9th heavenly stage Dao integration cultivator among them. After the incident, someone calculated the number of dead cultivators of the Ji people. There were exactly 30,000 of them. This incident angered the Ji people's first ancestor, and he ordered a thorough investigation. The Hunyuan heaven realm was tossed into chaos. In the end, they came to an unexpected and shocking conclusion. The people who poisoned the Ji people were actually cultivators of the Ji people. It was not done by one person, but by more than 10 people. There was even an elder of the Ji people. The assassins who assassinated the Ji people came from various forces of the Hunyuan heaven realm. Even the experts of the Brahma heaven realm and the Big Dipper sect were involved. This result caused a stir in the Hunyuan heaven realm. It even alarmed the higher-ups of the Yuan Tiangong. The Ji people were at the peak of their arrogance. This series of events was like a blow to the Ji people. They were no longer as arrogant and despotic as before. They were even careful when they went out, afraid of being assassinated. The Hunyuan heaven realm regained its peace. No one from the Fong heaven realm came to harass them. Prison suppressing Codex. QL11 in the sealed space. Su Fong urged the World Tree to continuously absorb the essence of the heavenly Tao's power of order from the Rainbow Stone Lotus. The Rainbow Stone Lotus contained a type of heavenly Tao origin energy. Its power was truly astonishing. The World Tree had to acknowledge the power within the Rainbow Stone Lotus. At the same time, the Rainbow Stone Lotus had to not reject the World Tree's yin-yang energy. Only then could it be controlled with ease. Su Fong's world of yin and yang was the supreme power of the heavenly Tao. It easily merged with the essence of the heavenly Tao's power of order from the Rainbow Stone Lotus. The Rainbow Stone Lotus is indeed filled with the origin power of heaven and earth. It's so astonishing and terrifying, Su Fong exclaimed when he sensed the majestic origin power from the Rainbow Stone Lotus. He didn't know how long it lasted. After the World Tree absorbed a large amount of heavenly Tao's power of order, it felt like it had reached a state of saturation. Hence, Su Fong began to urge the World Tree to merge with the 71 Yang meridians. Suddenly, an astonishing change occurred in the Yang meridians. It really works. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. He was simply overjoyed. Turned out that the change came from the 72nd Yang meridian that was being attacked. The originally ordinary meridian was now filled with Yang energy. It was surging inside, causing the meridian to explode. An astonishing power was brewing and expanding. After so many years, the 72nd Yang meridian is finally about to be born. 9 suns, 9 transformations, the 8th transformation. I'm finally about to step into the 8th transformation. 72 yang meridians. What would it mean for Su Fang once this yang meridian was successfully formed? It wouldn't just be a transformation in strength. It would also give him hope of survival. Hence, Su Fang focused all his energy, the world tree, the power of all the yang meridians, and the strength of his entire body. He circulated the energy in his body through a major circulation and crazily attacked the 72nd yang meridian. Boom, boom, boom. Like the eruption of a mountain flood, every attack caused an earth-shattering commotion within the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace. The commotion was truly astonishing. From this, one could see how difficult it was to form the 72nd yang meridian. He didn't know how many times he attacked it. Whether it was 1,000 times or 10,000 times, it didn't matter. After repeated full-force attacks, the 72nd yang meridian was finally successfully formed. After a violent tremor, the meridian burned with an astonishing pure yang flame. Soon, it transformed from an ordinary meridian into a jade-like meridian that was filled with boundless yang energy. The 72nd yang meridian was finally born. It's not over yet. Next is the 8th transformation. I wonder what kind of changes the 8th transformation will bring me. Su Fang was extremely nervous. At the same time, he was filled with eagerness and anticipation. Chapter 23-25. The birth of the 72nd yang meridian was the beginning of the transformation. The 63 yang meridians of the 7th transformation suddenly extended and connected with the yang meridian of the 8th transformation. They first formed a long dragon, and after a while, they finally formed 8 spirals of yang meridian. The 72 yang meridians seemed to fuse together, forming a yang meridian vortex. It was even more vast, profound, and complex than before. When the yang meridian vortex stabilized, yang qi poured into the 72nd yang meridian. The entire yang meridian suddenly erupted with a violent aura that swept through the meridians in his body. Although Su Fang had expected this, he was still shocked by the surging yang qi and the power of the yin-yang world. The power of the yin-yang world first circulated through the minor circulation, then the major circulation, and finally returned to the yang meridian, where it was absorbed by the world tree connected to the first yang meridian. Qi, an astonishing power of the yin-yang world, suddenly surged out of the world tree. The 72 yang meridians released dazzling starlight at the same time, causing the entire Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth to turn into a boundless galaxy. After sensing for a while, Su Fang discovered that after reaching the 8th transformation, his yang qi had become even more profound. The power of the yin-yang world had also undergone a qualitative change, circulating more than 10 times faster than before. That wasn't all. The Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth emitted a kind of heavenly Tao's orderly reincarnation and astonishing divine might. It was brewing an earth-shattering transformation. Although I still need to dual cultivate with senior sister Shu Wanjun after reaching the 8th transformation, only then can my inner world undergo another transformation. Maybe I can obtain a seal even stronger than the yin-yang transformation from the origin sacred mirror, like the 7th transformation. But in the internal space of the suppressing prison codex and the Tao River, I wonder if I can use the yang side of the origin sacred mirror to dual cultivate with senior sister. When attacking the 72nd yang meridian, Su Fang could absorb the 9 yin qi from the origin sacred mirror. The Tao River and the suppressing prison codex could not block the connection between the two mirrors. From this, one could see how amazing the origin sacred mirror was. However, Su Fang was still somewhat worried. Ever since he entered the suppressing prison codex, his connection with Shu Wanjun had been severed. Clearly, there was great resistance. Su Fang was worried and anxious. He peeled off a strand of yang spirit and entered the inner space of the primordial chaos sacred mirror from the red mirror. As soon as Su Fang entered the ancient space of the divine mirror, he was pleasantly surprised. In the past, when he entered the inner space of the primordial sacred mirror, he would be shackled. Even after reaching the 7th transformation, he was still shackled, but he could still fly freely. However, it was obviously different this time. The space inside the ancient mirror was still extremely vast in Su Fang's eyes, but it was less mysterious and more approachable. QL11 There was even a faint feeling of a bloodline connection. Although it was not as strong as when other magic treasures were fused, this feeling was unmistakable. After reaching the 8th transformation, I can now control the Origin Sacred Mirror. This discovery made Su Fang extremely excited. Ever since the day he obtained the Origin Sacred Mirror, Su Fang had been trying to fuse with it. However, this supreme divine artifact was far too vast. Even with the Purple Cloud Law Spirit, Su Fang was still unable to control it with ease. He did not expect that after reaching the 8th transformation, he would have the ability to control the Origin Sacred Mirror. How could he not be overjoyed? However, controlling the Origin Sacred Mirror still required hand seals. Currently, Su Fang had only mastered one type of hand seal, and that was the yin-yang change. Whoosh! Su Fang's yang spirit flashed. He instantly appeared in the central space of the Origin Sacred Mirror. It was slightly inferior to the teleportation of Tao Integration Stage True Gods, but compared to before, his speed was more than 100 times faster. If I can completely control the Origin Sacred Mirror, no, even if I can only activate half of its power, who in the entire universe can stop me? Su Fang's heart was filled with lofty aspirations. At this moment, he felt that he could surpass all difficulties and obstacles. Even the changes of heaven and earth could be reversed. Senior sister Su Fang's consciousness followed the majestic yang spirit and surged into the seal in the central space of the Origin Sacred Mirror. After a while, a familiar frosty aura surged out from the other side of the seal. Then, a mysterious black mirror materialized in the void of the seal. Then, Shu Wanjin's face appeared from the mirror. Su Fang, I didn't expect you to find the opportunity to form the 72nd Yang Meridian so quickly. Furthermore, you've grasped it firmly and reached the 8th transformation. Shu Wanjin's voice was filled with excitement. Su Fang's advancement into the 8th transformation meant that he had the ability to enter the Advent Divine Palace and rescue her from the heavenly Tao chessboard. Shu Wanjin's consciousness followed the frosty aura into the central space and materialized into a figure. This is strange. I've tried to contact you through the ancient mirror several times before, but I've been blocked by an extremely powerful force. If you hadn't absorbed the frosty aura, I would have thought that you had encountered a mishap. What happened? Su Fang smiled bitterly as he told Shu Wanjin everything that had happened in detail. When Shu Wanjin learned about the origin of the Origin Sacred Mirror from Su Fang, she couldn't help but be shocked. A heavenly venerable artifact. Using the 9 divine suns to refine the yang side and using the essence of the 9 underworlds to refine the yin side. I didn't expect the Origin Sacred Mirror to have such a shocking origin. When she learned about Su Fang's current situation and the situation faced by the myriad worlds, Shu Wanjin was shocked again. She was speechless for a long time. It was obvious that she was in despair. Su Fang comforted her. Senior sister, it's not like there's no chance. I've already reached the 8th transformation. As long as you and I work together to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror, we'll be able to release that transcendent expert. All the problems will be solved. We have to hurry up. This time, you've reached the 8th transformation and strengthened the connection between the 2 mirror surfaces of the Origin Sacred Mirror. That's why you were able to break through the shackles of the suppressing prison codex and the Tao River, allowing me to enter here. However, I can't stay here for long. The suppressing prison codex and the Tao River are too powerful. If not for the Origin Sacred Mirror, it's impossible for us to surpass it. Then let's begin. Su Fang's original body immediately activated the 9 Yang 9 transformations. The yang energy in the yang meridian and the power of the yin and yang world in the world tree frantically poured into the mirror surface. It felt like the origin's sacred mirror was an incomparably huge black hole. No matter how much power there was, it was difficult to fill it up. In just a dozen breaths, Su Fang's incomparably vast power of the yin and yang world was almost completely absorbed. A red mirror surface condensed in the middle of the origin's sacred mirror. The power of the nine yang suddenly erupted. At the same time, the power of the nine yin also erupted from the black mirror surface. An extreme yang energy and an extreme yin energy. The two completely different forces suddenly met and produced an astonishing attractive force. But the red and black mirrors suddenly broke through the shackles and stuck together. A mysterious aura of yin and yang fusion and evolution erupted. Just like the seventh transformation, the internal space of the origin's sacred mirror underwent earth-shattering changes as the mirrors fused together. The internal formation began to operate. It felt like the universe was rotating. In the middle of the origin's sacred mirror, countless seals floated out and condensed into the phantom of an old man. Su Fang already knew that this phantom should be the embodiment of the supreme heavenly Tao contained in the origin's sacred mirror. It could also be called the embodiment of a supreme heavenly venerate. The phantom clasped his hands together as if the entire universe was in his hands. Then, he formed a seal with his 10 fingers. At first glance, this seal was extremely similar to the yin-yang transformations. It was simple and unadorned, but it contained the supreme and profound mysteries of heaven and earth. He took a closer look. Su Fang discovered that this seal was more complex and advanced than the yin-yang transformations. It had evolved further on the basis of the yin-yang transformations. Su Fang was shocked. This is the second transformation of heaven and earth that you mentioned? The primordial era before the creation of heaven and earth was originally a sea of chaos. It was called limitless. When heaven and earth were created, heaven and earth and yin and yang were separated. This was the first transformation of heaven and earth's fundamental power, the yin-yang transformation. This Dharma seal was based on the foundation of yin and yang, and further evolved from the inner parts of yin and yang. From this palm print, Su Fang saw the heavens, the earth, the universe, as well as life, age, death, spring, summer, autumn, winter. The cycle repeated endlessly, and the cycle of reincarnation was endless. 4 divisions transformation. The phantom demonstrated the seal once, and the entire process was deeply imprinted in Su Fang's mind. At the same time, Su Fang also learned the name of this seal, the 4 divisions transformation. Su Fang, this seal is incomparably profound. I will leave for now and go back to comprehend this seal. You must also comprehend its essence as soon as possible. Only then can we join forces to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror and help that transcendent expert break free from the shackles of the prison-suppressing codex and help you escape. Shu Wanjin's voice was filled with exhaustion, but at the same time with incomparable excitement. She was sucked into the black mirror along with the cold air. Then, she disappeared from the center of the Origin's sacred mirror along with the black mirror. Su Fang sat down cross-legged and settled into a cultivation state, constantly comprehending the essence of the 4 divisions transformation. The more he comprehended, the more Su Fang felt that this seal was infinitely profound. At the same time, he also continuously absorbed the cold aura through the Origin's sacred mirror and fused it with the power of the 9 suns, automatically entering the state of yin and yang dual cultivation. About 1,000 years passed. Su Fang integrated everything into the heaven and earth Tao Palace and entered the state of the world in his body. The transformation, as Su Fang settled and accumulated, happened without any warning. Boom, boom. A kind of transformation power caused a huge change in Su Fang's world. In the universe, there was not only heaven and earth, but also time and space. All kinds of magical substances quickly condensed, forming a vast and boundless land. In the sky, stars began to be born one after another. They were arranged according to wondrous laws, and the stars moved. The divine sun and moon hanging high in the sky began to rise and fall in an orderly manner. Wind, rain, thunder, and lightning were no longer chaotic. Day and night, spring, summer, autumn, and winter appeared. The world was filled with thin natural spiritual energy. On the ground, mountains, rivers, continents, and oceans appeared. Life began to brew in the ocean. 4 Divisions Transformation. Chapter 23-26. 8th Transformation. Su Fang had taken another huge step forward in his cultivation of the world. At the same time, it meant that Su Fang's strength had increased greatly. His cultivation speed was about to reach the level of a small world and a great world. More importantly, Su Fang's inner world, which was his heavenly Tao, had reached such an astonishing level. This meant that his dependence on the outside world had been reduced to the lowest level. The influence of the changes in the world on him had also been reduced to a negligible level. After the 8th transformation, Su Fang had also undergone many unexpected transformations, such as the heavenly Tao appearance and the power of the yin-yang world. These still required further exploration. Su Fang did not have time to care about these things. The most important thing now is to recover to peak condition as soon as possible. The birth of the Yang Meridian and the 8th transformation has caused the consumption of the power of the Yang and yin-yang world. Time is of the essence, so I can only seize every moment. Su Fang settled down and frantically devoured elixirs and resources. Soon, Su Fang discovered an extremely serious matter. He was about to run out of elixirs and resources. It was not just his resources. Even the resources in the Golden Rainbow King's treasure had been used up. What was left was not enough for him to recover to peak condition. The main reason was that the space within the prison suppressing codex absorbed the natural aura of the world. He could only devour elixirs, spiritual items, and resources. In addition, Su Fang's inner world required 100 times more resources than true gods of the same level, or even more. Ordinary resources were not of much use to him. Only elixirs and spiritual items that contained the essence of the world were useful. His inner world was a universe of its own. It was like a bottomless pit that could not be filled. How could the consumption not be shocking? This is bad. Su Fang knew that things were not going well. If he could not recover to peak condition, even if he joined forces with Shu Wanjin to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror, they might not be able to break the seal on mystery. Rustle. A mysterious aura similar to Su Fang's yin-yang forces enveloped Su Fang. Then, Goddess Luo's voice sounded, "Do not resist. Merge with my power. I will help you recover." It turned out that Goddess Luo was willing to sacrifice herself to help Su Fang recover. Su Fang felt a surge of warmth in his heart. The scene of the two of them eating a piece of cake in the disillusionment execution mirror appeared in his mind once again. Su Fang's greatest fortune in this life is not obtaining the Origin Sacred Mirror, nor is it having the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit. It is being able to have Xuanxin and Heavenly Lady. How fortunate is that? Su Fang was touched. He circulated the power of yin and yang world and fused it with the power that Goddess Luo had seeped into his body. Then, they entered a dual cultivation state. Days passed. Goddess Luo's exhaustion was astonishing as well. Her face quickly turned haggard as her black hair turned yellow. Her aura also gradually weakened. This won't do. If this continues, not only will I not be able to recover to my peak state, but even the Holy Maiden will also be severely injured, or even die. Su Fang immediately stopped absorbing Goddess Luo's aura. Seeing Goddess Luo's current state, he could not help but feel a sharp pain in his heart. "Su Fang, I can still hold on," Goddess Luo said in a trembling voice, looking delicate and weak. Su Fang pulled her into his arms and felt another wave of heartache. "This can't go on. We have to think of another way." After thinking for a long time, Su Fang's eyes suddenly lit up and he suddenly became spirited. It's impossible to find any pills or spiritual items in the Prison Suppression Codex. I forgot that the Prison Suppression Codex is a place where experts are sealed. Aren't those sealed experts the best materials for my cultivation? Su Fang became spirited as he reminded Goddess Luo. Then, he went straight out of the formation space at the bottom of the Prison Suppression Codex. Su Fang projected the power of yin and yang world out. Then, with a flash of his body, he traveled tens of thousands of miles in an instant. His speed was extremely fast. It was almost the speed of an ordinary ultimate god expert. This was not only because the shackles from the central area of the formation to the outside had weakened. It was also because after stepping into the 8th transformation, the power of yin and yang world was more than 10 times stronger than before. QL11. If it weren't for the fact that he hadn't recovered yet, Su Fang's speed would have been even faster. Soon, he arrived at the edge of the sealed space and used a handprint to pass through the barrier. He looked over. In the inner space of the Prison Suppression Codex, the death aura that filled the air became even denser. Layers of formations were tainted by the death aura or melted by the Tao River, turning into a state of nothingness. Most of the space that shackled the D-Zune was covered by Jiang Taijie's aura. It seems like there's not much time left. I have to remove Yu's seal as soon as possible and stop Jiang Taijie. Su Fang became anxious. He avoided the area covered by Jiang Taijie's aura and left the formation space on this page. He used his perfected ability and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to sense the prisons that sealed the expert. You're the one. Su Fang's gaze locked onto a prison and he arrived in front of it in a flash. Using the mysterious solution of heaven, he used 3 days to open a gap in the prison formed by layers of restrictions. Then, he flew into the prison. Su Fang discovered that after stepping into the 8th transformation and comprehending the 4 symbols transformations, his comprehension of the various divine abilities had become more and more spirited. The power he could display was also nearly 10 times stronger than before. A supreme divine ability, like the Heaven's Divination Mystery Solution, was now easily displayed. If it had been in the past, he would have needed several years to comprehend the prison's restrictions before he could unravel them and break them. Now, he only needed 3 days. This was the benefit of the 8th transformation. Inside the prison, black sequence chains were connected to the prison's restrictions. In the center of the intertwining chains was a pig demon. That's right. It was a big goblin like the Vermilion Emperor. It was an extremely powerful mutated divine beast, whose strength was equivalent to that of an upper-rank lord. Moreover, divine beasts possessed innate abilities that gods did not possess. Furthermore, they were extremely ferocious and evil. Their strength was usually a level higher than gods of the same level, let alone a mutated ancient beast. This big goblin's strength was similar to that of a peerless peak lord-level powerhouse. A big goblin that could be suppressed in the Prison Suppression Codex was definitely extraordinary. It was not strange to find a big goblin here. This big goblin had been suppressed for God knows how many years. It was all skin and bones, looking like a huge skeleton. However, the big goblin was still alive. When it sensed Su Fang's arrival, a ferocious gleam shot out of its eyes. Evil demonic aura and demonic fire surged out of its body. However, it was soon suppressed by the sequence chains and the seal on its body. It let out a series of tragic cries. "You fat pig, although you're pathetically thin now, I'm not picky. If I devour you, not only will I be able to return to my peak condition, but I'll also be able to rapidly advance to the next level." Looking at the big goblin, Su Fang was overjoyed. His eyes flickered with a hearty gleam. The big goblin looked at Su Fang in surprise, as if it was looking at a monster. It then let out a roar. "You're just a puny path integration cultivator. How dare you try to devour me? You humans are born to be food for us demons. How dare you try to devour me? What a joke! You've forgotten that you're a pig. You're born to be food for humans. Su Fong chuckled and did not waste any more time. He immediately used the yin-yang change, a terrifying divine power that could destroy heaven and earth and cause all things in the world to revert to their original source. Enveloped the big goblin, the seal on its body, and the sequence chains around it. At first, the big goblin looked at Su Fong with disdain and mockery. However, after Su Fong used the yin-yang change, its eyes were filled with disbelief. Chi. The sequence chains that were formed by the power of the heavenly Tao shattered and melted layer by layer under the shocking divine power of the yin-yang change. From the prison-suppressing codex and the surrounding prisons, a torrent of heavenly Tao order surged towards Su Fong like a flood. The sequence chains stretched out from the void and tried to suppress Su Fong. Those who were shackled in the prison suppression codex were all important prisoners. Su Fong tried to break the seal and naturally, he would be attacked by the prison suppression codex. However, the prison suppression codex and the power of the prison immediately calmed down when they came into contact with Su Fong's divine power. Under the divine power of Su Fong's yin-yang change, those terrifying chains automatically retracted. The yin-yang change came from the origin sacred mirror and was the supreme divine power of the Heavenly Lord. The prison suppression codex was the prison that the Heavenly Lord used to suppress the peerless experts in the universe. Therefore, the divine power of the yin-yang change was above the power of the prison suppression codex, and the heavenly Tao order of the prison suppression codex had to submit to it. The chains and seals on the big goblin were shattered layer by layer under the divine power of the yin-yang change. Roar! The big goblin let out an earth-shattering roar, and the demonic power in its body burst out, shattering the remaining seals and chains. Su Fong also stopped using the yin-yang change. Human boy, in order to thank you, I will devour you, including your skin and bones, ha ha ha. The big goblin laughed wildly and its demonic aura rose to the sky. Demonic fire instantly enveloped Su Fong. I should be the one devouring you, including your skin and bones. Su Fong sneered and the divine power of the yin-yang world swept out, breaking through the big goblin's demonic aura and flames and enveloping the big goblin. Boom! Boom! Su Fong's world projection had yet to condense into a real world, and under the big goblin's crazy attacks, it began to shatter layer by layer. At this time, Su Fong's physical body suddenly shattered and turned into a pool of blood that surged in the sky. The divine power of the azure blood dome and the divine power of the yin-yang world merged in an instant, turning the sky into a blood dome with surging blood clouds and the earth into a surging sea of blood. Sizzle! The sea of blood and the sky of blood formed a powerful reincarnation cycle that wantonly took away the big goblin's life force. After a series of reincarnations, it quickly turned into Su Fong's life force. Ah, you damned human, you're actually a devil race cultivator. Such an evil divine power, even more evil than our big goblin. Chapter 23-27. The bloodfall sky had fused with the might of Su Fong's world of yin and yang. It was a reincarnation world formed from the blood sea and the sky. The big goblin was extremely vicious. It caused great damage to Su Fong, but it was unable to shatter Su Fong's world. After all, the big goblin had been trapped for countless years, and its strength had been severely depleted. Now that it was in the bloodfall sky, its vitality was constantly being devoured, while Su Fong was constantly absorbing its vitality, allowing him to recover rapidly. As a result, the big goblin began to lose the upper hand very soon. Blood-red hands constantly extended out of the sky. At the same time, blood shadow clones emerged from the sea of blood, wildly absorbing the big goblin's vitality. In the beginning, it was only the big goblin's vitality that was being devoured. Afterwards, not only was his vitality being devoured faster and faster, but even his bloodline and soul began to flow into the bloodfall sky. After the bloodfall sky devoured the big goblin, it underwent an intense change. Astonishing flames of life burned in the sea of blood, surging into the sky. The blood-red clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker. The blood-red claws that constantly extended out of the sky became more consolidated as well. Their devouring ability became greater as well. Around a month later. In the past, I roamed through the various worlds. I never thought I would be devoured by a puny human ant today. The big goblin, which had basically been reduced to a skeleton, produced a miserable cry filled with regret. It collapsed into the pool of blood loudly. Su Fang had slain such a powerful big goblin that was equivalent to a peak overgod so easily. This was the great change in Su Fang's strength after reaching the 8th transformation of the 9 suns. It was not that he had not killed peak overgods in the prison suppression codex before, but that was because those experts were restrained by the power of the prison suppression codex, while Su Fang could control the power of the laws of the world. This time, he had completely relied on his own strength. Moreover, he had not recovered to his peak condition yet. If he used the Origin Sacred Mirror, it would be even easier to kill the wild pygma beast. Of course, this also had a lot to do with the fact that the big goblin had been sealed for many years, and its strength had been severely damaged. No matter what, a powerful big goblin was killed by Su Fang just like that. Its life essence and demonic energy were all given to Su Fang. Sizzle, the bloody water churned as the big goblin's corpse floated in the bloody water. Su Fang devoured the blood qi and demonic qi in its body, causing Su Fang's life force and energy to recover at an astonishing rate. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. All that was left of the gargoyle was a corroded skeleton that was riddled with holes. Even with Su Fang's devouring ability, it was difficult for him to devour all of them in a short time. There was also the big goblin's spiritual pearl and inner core. Su Fang kept them for a rainy day. He purified and fused the big goblin's blood qi and demonic qi with pure yang energy. Then, he condensed them into blood crystals and crystals that contained pure life essence and energy essence with his hand seals. Su Fang felt that his body was filled with incomparable power. At this moment, he was confident that even without the Origin Sacred Mirror, he could fight and even win against a peerless lord of Azure Flame Sea. Seeing that he had almost recovered to his peak condition, Su Fang stopped devouring and sealed the wild pygma beast's corpse. Then, he reformed his body. Suddenly a strange movement came from the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace. Shocked, Su Fang immediately peeled off a strand of Yang spirit and entered the world in his body. From the depths of the world in his body, a 6-colored Xian Guang shot up into the sky. Its dazzling brilliance made the divine sun in the sky pale in comparison. An aura of creation spread out from the Xian Guang. QL 11-inch Master, a supreme spiritual treasure has been born in the world in your body. The purple Qi Dharma spirit, primordial spirit, that had fused with Su Fang's world appeared in front of Su Fang's Yang spirit. It looked like a purple-clothed girl. At this moment, she was also very excited when she sensed the aura. Su Fang's eyes flashed with a bright light. The birth of the universe can give birth to a creation artifact. However, the thing that caused the movement is not other creation artifacts, but my natal magic treasure, the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda. As soon as he finished speaking, the 6-colored Xian Guang quickly retracted. The aura of creation that permeated the world also quickly disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Whoosh! A 6-story pagoda flew through the air. It was the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda. Su Fang entered the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda and shuttled through the layers of space. He could not help but be overjoyed when he sensed the creation aura of Xianwang. Last time, in order to deal with Jiang Taiji's clone, Su Fang activated the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda that had not yet fully matured. As a result, this natal magic treasure suffered some damage. Su Fang placed it back in his body to nourish it. Unexpectedly, Even Su Fang himself did not expect that the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda would not only recover but also successfully nourish it. Moreover, it had absorbed the creation of the universe in Su Fang's body and become a creation artifact. It should be related to the eighth transformation. The eighth transformation caused the world in my body to undergo earth-shaking changes. The Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda also benefited from it and became a supreme creation artifact. Su Fang was wild with joy. That's great. My natal magic treasure has finally become a creation artifact. From now on it can be of great use. My strength will also increase by a lot. It's not easy. It's really not easy. The Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda was a creation artifact born in his body. At this time, it could not be compared to a real creation artifact. However, it was the most suitable for Su Fang. Moreover, as Su Fang's strength increased, his natal magic treasure would also continue to improve. When the time came, its power would definitely not be weaker than a real creation artifact. Su Fang happily put away the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda and went straight to the sealed space of the prison suppressing codex. Soon, he returned to the depths of the sealed space. He saw that Goddess Luo was getting weaker and weaker. She felt like a candle swaying in the wind. A gust of wind could extinguish it. This is my woman. Su Fang was very touched. He used his pure yang energy and crazily poured it into Goddess Luo's body. With the pure yang energy, as well as the blood crystals condensed from the Zhu Ma Big Goblin's vitality and blood, as well as the crystals condensed from energy, after being purified by Su Fang, Goddess Luo could also use them for cultivation. Very soon, Goddess Luo recovered a lot. She was completely free of the weak state where she could die at any time. Only then did Su Fang relax. Next, I should help Shroud break the seal. Then, I should kill Jiang Taijie and stop the Dao River from being tainted. Looking at Shroud, who was shackled in the deepest part of the sealed space, Su Fang's eyes revealed an extremely determined and resolute look. Success or failure depended on this. You rest first. I'm going. After nodding at Goddess Luo, Su Fang slowly flew towards the place where Shroud was sealed. Looking at Su Fang's back view, his body, which was not very tall, became extremely tall in Goddess Luo's heart. It was as if he could support the world. Just as Su Fang was about to help Shroud break the seal with the supreme existence of the imperial people as the leader, more than 30 supreme sovereigns, as well as Di Yuan and the many Yuan Tiangong geniuses who followed Di Yuan, passed through the natural barriers of the world and arrived at the end of the universe. There was chaos here. There was no natural aura of the world, and the concept of time and space had also been lost. It was boundless and everything was eternal. In short, there was nothing here. There was only endless darkness and coldness. The supreme existence of the imperial people released a transcendent and powerful aura that enveloped everyone. Otherwise, all the Yuan Tiangong geniuses, including Di Yuan, would have been instantly frozen into ice. Di Yuan and the others did not see the legendary celestial worthy mountain. They were all very surprised, but no one dared to say anything. They waited quietly. It has begun. The supreme existence of the imperial people suddenly spoke and quickly stood up. The other sovereigns and the others all looked solemn as they stood up one after another. From the void in front of them, a figure walked out. It quickly turned from blurry to real, as if it had come from the outer space. The moment this old man walked out, everyone, including the supreme sovereigns, felt a roar in their minds. Instinctive reverence surged in their hearts, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. This figure vaguely looked like an old man, but his face could not be seen clearly. Vision would be distorted when it fell on him. It was impossible to see his figure, let alone sense his aura. Greetings, Lord Mountain Guardian. The supreme existence of the imperial people hurriedly knelt down to the old man, and the other sovereigns followed suit. Could this person be the legendary Transcendent? Di Yuan and the other Yuan Tiangong geniuses were extremely shocked. They could not help but kneel down in the air, trembling all over. It turned out that this old man was the mountain guardian of the celestial worthy mountain. The celestial worthy mountain was the origin of the universe. It was also the place where the celestial worthy and their disciples lived. At the same time, it was also the center of power of the universe. It was the most mysterious and supreme holy land. The mountain guardian. This was the person who guarded the entrance to the celestial worthy mountain. He seemed ordinary and did not have a high status, but in fact, he was an important person who connected the celestial worthy mountain to the outside world. In the myriad of worlds, he was the supreme existence below the celestial worthy mountain. The mountain guardian had always been the supreme expert of the imperial people. This was also the reason why the imperial people could become the #1 divine clan in the myriad of worlds. The current mountain guardian was the only transcendent being left in the universe. When the 6th divine sun rose into the sky, there was a majestic voice that rang in the minds of all the guardians of the primordial chaos golden roll, urging them to speed up the genius selection process. This person was the mountain guardian. At the same time, 30% of the life and energy of all things in the world were forcibly stripped away. It was this old man who made a move, using the life and energy of all things to seal the celestial worthy mountain, preventing the mutation from continuing. All sovereigns begin. The mountain guardian's empty gaze swept over Di Yuan, and then he spoke indifferently. His hands formed a series of hand seals. Di Yuan and the other Yuan Tiangong geniuses only took a few glances, and immediately felt the world spinning. Strange phenomena of the world constantly appeared in their mind. Rise. The mountain guardian's hands suddenly separated, and a golden Xian Guang with a terrifying aura that could split the world fell into the void in the distance. Boom. Boom. Chapter 23-28. A mountain slowly rose from the void. In an instant, in everyone's eyes, the entire world was this mountain. Once the mountain appeared, only this mountain was left in the entire world. This was an indescribable mountain. It was so large that it was boundless, and so tall that it filled up heaven and earth. The mountain was lofty and majestic, making heaven and earth want to tremble along with this mountain's appearance. Those supreme Empyreans looked at this mountain, their eyes were also full of awe, feeling as insignificant as ants. It was not that they were too insignificant, but that this mountain was too tall, making all living things need to look up. Like ordinary mountains, there were rocks, plants, and streams on the mountain too. However, every blade of grass and every tree emitted an astonishing aura of great Tao, containing the supreme heavenly Tao laws. This mountain was the incarnation of the entire heavenly Tao. Empyrean Mountain. At the foot of the mountain, the sound of surging seawater faintly came over. It turned out that under the Empyrean Mountain, there was a sea pressing down. It was not an ordinary sea, but the source of heavenly Tao formed by the convergence of myriad great Tao rivers, Tao Sea. From the foot of the mountain, there were steps that led to a palace on the mountain ridge. There were only a total of 99 steps. This path was also precisely the only passageway into the Empyrean Mountain, the Heaven-span path. The Heaven-span path, not only in name but also in reality. And only by entering that palace on the mountain ridge could one be considered to have obtained the Empyrean Mountain's recognition, having the qualifications to enter the interior of the Empyrean Mountain. Everyone looked up at the Empyrean Mountain, each and every one of them akin to ice sculptures, but their hearts were churning with monstrous waves. Di Yuan. The mountain guardian's casual voice fell into Di Yuan's ears, but it was like heaven and earth were rumbling. If you enter the Empyrean Mountain this time, you'll definitely be able to find the reason for the heaven and earth anomaly. If you can find a way to stop the heaven and earth anomaly from within, you'll be the #1 hero who saved the 3 realms, receiving the worship of heaven and earth. Hearing the mountain guardian's words, Di Yuan's breathing suddenly became hurried, his eyes becoming incomparably scorching. Success. he, Yuan, would undoubtedly be the #1 person in the universe. Not only would he obtain a reputation that no one could match, the identity, status, and future accomplishments that came with it would also exceed his imagination. Worship of heaven and earth. QL11 imagining that kind of scene, Yuan seemed to be drunk, having a feeling of intoxication. Who knew? The mountain guardian changed the topic. If you fail, the opening of the exalted celestial mountain is your only chance. If you fail, it means that this world is going to be destroyed. Everything will return to dust. I originally didn't want to pressure you, but this matter is of great importance, so I have no choice but to warn you. Even if you don't care about your life and abandon everything, you must reach the end of the heaven-span path and enter the Empyrean mountain. Yuan felt as if the weight of the entire world was pressing down on his body in an instant. His body suddenly sank, and his face instantly turned pale. The consequences of failure were too severe. Not only Yuan, no one else could bear the consequences. An Emperor Realm Master shouted loudly, "Holy Son Yuan is not only the #1 genius in all the heavens, but also an unprecedented peerless genius. He will definitely be able to enter the exalted celestial mountain and find a way out for our human race." A dignified Emperor Realm Master was openly flattering Yuan, causing some Emperor Realm Masters to snort in disdain. This Emperor Master's eyes contained a vast starry sky. He was from the Luo clan. In the main hall of the Divine Law Prison, Luo Xingtian and Luo Yunxian controlled many experts to attack Yuan. Moreover, this time, the Dao River was polluted, and the world lost its order, falling into chaos. It was all caused by the Luo clan. Therefore, the Luo clan became the main culprit of this calamity, and even offended Yuan. This Luo clan emperor had no choice but to flatter Yuan in public. Duanmu Renjia also shouted loudly, "If there is still hope in all the heavens, the only person who can save all the heavens is the Holy Son Yuan." The other Yuan Tiangong geniuses also loudly praised Yuan. In the midst of everyone's praises, Yuan's eyes revealed great confidence. He slowly stood up. Yuan will definitely succeed this time. At this moment, the Empyrean mountain slowly sank. The mountain guardian and more than 30 peerless emperors formed hand seals at the same time. Almost all the top experts in all the heavens gathered their strength to barely stop the Empyrean mountain from sinking. The mountain guardian shouted in a deep voice, "Yuan, go. Remember, you don't have much time. You only have 10 days at most." Then, the mountain guardian swept out a divine aura, enveloping Yuan as he flew down the Empyrean mountain. Whoosh! Yuan took a step forward and stepped onto the first step. No one knew what he was experiencing or enduring at this moment. His body suddenly sank, and the robe on his body tore apart as if he was enduring endless pressure. Yuan looks alright. He should be able to reach the end of the heavenly path. It's still too early to judge. As far as I know, the heavenly path tests the height of one's cultivation of the heavenly path. I just don't know how it tests. The Emperor Realm Masters were secretly communicating with each other. The peerless imperial people said, "The Empyrean mountain opens every other era to recruit peerless geniuses into the Empyrean mountain. The test method is to walk the heavenly path. First of all, the age is limited to 10 million years. Then, the great path that one cultivates must be the supreme heavenly path. The test on the first step is equivalent to the early stage of the path integration stage. The test on each step increases by a lot. The test on the 99th step is equivalent to that of a venerable sovereign. Those venerable sovereigns who did not know the inside story were stunned when they heard the imperial people's words. In 10 million years, one could reach the height of a venerable sovereign. How could there be such an amazing genius in this world? Since the Empyrean mountain has such a test, of course there will be people who can pass it. However, those who can pass the test are all peerless geniuses. If Su Fang and Goddess Luo don't die, They will have a great chance of passing the test if they are given another few million years. The venerable sovereigns fell into silence as they stared at Di Yuan's figure. Young Master Di Yuan will definitely pass this time. Of course. Every time there is a change, a peerless genius will appear. This time will be no exception. Who else can save the heavens other than the Holy Sun Di Yuan? Those Yuan Tiangong geniuses did not know how terrifying the Heavenly Paths test was, but they were all full of confidence in Di Yuan. Time flew by. A day later, Di Yuan climbed more than 30 steps in one go. It's only been a day, and he has already walked 1/3 of the Heavenly Path. Di Yuan has a great chance of passing the test this time. Everyone immediately became excited. Even some venerable sovereigns who did not show their emotions on their faces showed joy. Another 3 days passed. Di Yuan's speed had obviously slowed down. After 3 days, he had only climbed more than 50 steps. Everyone began to worry, but their hearts were still full of hope. Di Yuan rested on the steps for half a day before climbing again. After 3 days, he actually reached the 90th step in one go. Young Master Di Yuan is mighty. The Yuan Tiangong geniuses were pleasantly surprised and cheered loudly. Unfortunately, Di Yuan was on the heavenly path and could not hear a single word. Some venerable sovereigns were also overjoyed. However, some people, including the imperial people's supreme existences, showed worry in their eyes. They could see at a glance that Di Yuan was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Sure enough, after that, every step that Di Yuan took seemed incomparably difficult. Puff! After 3 steps, Di Yuan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed and he actually knelt on the ground. Then, with a crack, the bones in his legs broke, and he fell to the ground. Di Yuan! Everyone was exclaiming loudly. What are you panicking for? Di Yuan still has time. The imperial people's supreme existences shouted majestically. Only then did everyone stop panicking and stare at Di Yuan on the heavenly path. They saw Di Yuan sit down with difficulty and then use his blood qi to heal the injuries in his legs. 1 day, 2 days. On the last day, the mountain guards and many venerable sovereigns could no longer control the celestial worthy mountain. The auras of more than a dozen weaker celestial venerables had become weak and disordered. Some of them even had blood flowing out of the corners of their mouth. The celestial worthy mountain began to tremble slightly. It felt as if the entire world was shaking. An extremely strong aura of death rose from the depths of the celestial worthy mountain and spread out. Every blade of grass and every tree on the celestial worthy mountain was enveloped by this evil aura. At this moment, Di Yuan suddenly stood up from the steps. His eyes flashed with determination as he stepped up without hesitation. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, his 7 orifices were bleeding. His divine body was constantly shattering, and his bones were also shattering. After another 5 steps, Di Yuan arrived at the 97th step. He was only 2 steps away from the end of the heavenly path. However, it was also these 2 steps that became an insurmountable chasm for Di Yuan. He let out an unwilling roar as all the bones in his body shattered. He fell on his back and rolled down the steps until he reached the 1st step. Finally, he was swept out of the heavenly path by a divine might. Rumble! The celestial worthy mountain sank rapidly and soon disappeared into nothingness. He failed. Di Yuan actually failed. Everyone's faces were filled with despair. Failure meant that doomsday had arrived. It was already inevitable, and no one could stop it. Even the supreme existences of the imperial people, the mountain guards, could not change it. Including everyone present, everything in the world could not escape the fate of destruction. Sigh, this is fate. The mountain guard sighed heavily and walked into nothingness step by step, never to appear again. Give me one more chance. I will definitely be able to reach the end of the heavenly path. Di Yuan muttered to himself as he stared at the celestial worthy mountain with an unwilling expression. However, no matter how unwilling he was, What could he do? There was only one chance. If he grasped it, there was still a glimmer of hope. If he didn't, it meant that the world would be destroyed and everything would cease to exist. If Su Fang was here, perhaps there would be someone who could save all the worlds in the universe? Among the silent Di Zun, the supreme existences of the imperial people let out a sigh. Su Fang. Di Yuan felt as if he had been hit in the chest by a heavy hammer. The blood in his throat could no longer be suppressed and spurted out like a fountain. Then, he fainted. In the sealed space of the prison suppression codex, Su Fang came to the place where Yu was sealed. Yu's eyes became hale and hearty. Your 9 Yang 9 changes has reached a new height. It seems that you are ready. That's right. Su Fang nodded and took out the origin sacred mirror. A ray of Yang spirit seeped into the mirror with the power of the 9 Yang and came to the central spacetime of the origin sacred mirror. Before he could release his Yang Qi and will, the black mirror quickly appeared at the end of the array. Shu Wanjin's primordial spirit shadow gushed out of the mirror with the breath of extreme coldness. Senior sister, how are your preparations? I have learned a lot from comprehending the 4 symbols transformation over the years. Although it is still superficial, I should be able to activate the origin sacred mirror. What about you? Me too. Chapter 23-29. Su Fang and Shu Wanjin sat cross-legged in the central spacetime and formed hand seals at the same time, using the 4 symbols transformation. In the central spacetime, Su Fang's crimson mirror formed by the power of 9 Yang and Shu Wanjin's black mirror formed by the power of 9 Yin were like 2 millstones. The 2 sides of Yin and Yang formed an astonishing millstone of the heavenly Tao. Su Fang and Shu Wanjin were the shaft of the millstone. The power of 9 Yang and 9 Yin was the driving force of the millstone, and the 4 symbols transformation was the method. As the 2 worked together, the 4 symbols transformation's hand seals were executed. The 2 millstones of Yin and Yang began to rotate slowly. Everything in the world was about to be crushed by the silent rotation of the millstone. Su Fang's true body outside raised the origin sacred mirror vertically and aimed it at Shroud, who was hundreds of miles away. Kid, I hope you succeed this time. At this moment, Shroud, a supreme transcendence expert, appeared a little nervous and expectant. The origin sacred mirror's surface was no longer crimson. Instead, it was a mixture of red and black, like 2 fish connected head to tail. Strange, why does using the 4 symbols transformation to activate the origin sacred mirror resemble the yin-yang transformation? I wonder if it can break Shroud's shackles. If Shroud's judgment is wrong, then there will be no more chances. Su Fang stared at Shroud without blinking. He was a little worried about the power of the 4 symbols transformation to activate the origin sacred mirror. On the origin sacred mirror's surface, Yin and Yang changed again. The red and black parts continued to divide into Yin and Yang, becoming red and black parts. The mirror was no longer in the shape of a mirror. It had been refined into a universe that evolved endlessly. It constantly changed the scene of the heavenly Tao's 4 symbols evolving. It was an eternal cycle. As it spun rapidly, red and black Xian Guang shot out, enveloping Shroud and the surrounding space. Qi, 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 qi. The chains of order around Shroud melted and shattered layer by layer under the divine power of the origin sacred mirror, returning to their original state. The seal on Shroud's body also emerged from the surface of his skin and rapidly disintegrated and collapsed. This scene did not seem much different from the yin-yang transformation, except that its power was 10 times stronger. However, it was not over. The chains of order around Shroud and the seal that emerged from his body were disintegrated layer by layer, turning into Xian Guang, flying into the universe formed by the origin sacred mirror. In an instant, the constantly changing heavenly Tao's phenomenon, Shroud of Order. Shroud the mirror's body was as clear as the starry sky. Shockingly, numerous chains of order appeared on the surface of the mirror, and numerous mysterious seals interweaved together to form a restriction. Even Nethery's figure was faintly visible in the mirror. While Su Fong was surprised, Shroud suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood essence, and then his figure flashed and vanished on the spot. Shroud Fong Shroud. Shroud 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 Shroud. Shroud Shroud. Shroud Shroud. Shroud of Shroud. QL 11 chains of heavenly Tao order and a powerful seal shot out from the mirror and landed in the air. A blurry figure also floated out from the mirror. It was actually Mystery's doppelganger. However, compared to Mystery's original body, there was a huge difference. The Chaos Origin sacred mirror had devoured the chains of order, the seal, and even Shroud himself before releasing him. The only difference was that the chains and seals that were reproduced by the Hunyuan sacred mirror, including Mystery's doppelganger, were completely under Su Fong's control. Fortunately, Mystery's strength was incomparably powerful, and the primeval Chaos sacred mirror was unable to shackle him. This time, it had only swallowed a bit of his blood essence. Otherwise, what would be replicated would not be his avatar, but his true body. Su Fong felt that it was difficult to sustain the power of the Nine Suns. The consumption of his primordial spirit and mana had almost reached the limit of what he could bear. His entire body was hollowed out, leaving only an empty shell. Shu Wanjin's tired voice came from the depths of the Origin sacred mirror. 4 symbols transformation. I understand. The yin-yang transformation crushes everything and reverts to its original state, transforming it into the connate chaos chi. The 4 symbols transformation reconstructs everything. Matter, divine powers, and even life can be replicated. Extraordinary, very extraordinary. I've had the Origin sacred mirror for so many years, but only today did I realize that the Origin sacred mirror is countless times more powerful than I imagined. Clearly, Shu Wanjin had also expended a lot of energy. After she finished speaking, she disappeared along with the cold air. Reconstruct after destruction? Is this the power of the 4 symbols transformation? Su Fong was also very shocked. He even forgot about the huge consumption. Detestable brat, you almost hurt me. Mystery appeared in front of Su Fong. Looking at the Origin sacred mirror, there was a hint of wariness in his eyes. There was also a strange and complicated expression. Su Fong was surprised and overjoyed. Senior, you've regained your freedom? That's right. After being shackled for so long, I've finally regained my freedom. A mere Tao integration stage cultivator can actually activate the Origin sacred mirror to such an astonishing level. Even I'm a little impressed by you, Mystery said coldly. Although there was no joy or sadness in his voice, his eyes flashed with excitement. Then, he snorted. That old ghost sealed me with his own hands and released me with your help. Humph, this debt is not over yet. Seeing Su Fong's trembling appearance, Mystery waved his hand and a cold black Xian Guang appeared, enveloping Su Fong. Su Fong was like a weak chicken that could only be manipulated by Mystery. The black Xian Guang quickly seeped into Su Fong's body. Everywhere it went, Su Fong felt as if everything from his soul to his body, then to his Tao palace, had been turned into ice shards. Mystery shouted, "Quickly activate the 9 Suns' 9 transformations and merge with my power." Su Fong struggled to activate the 9 Suns' 9 transformations and found that the Yang power was like a fire seed that melted the cold aura of the frozen Yang meridian bit by bit. Finally, he could barely activate the Yang power and then the power of the yin-yang world. The power of the yin-yang world, as well as the Yang power in the Yang meridian, immediately merged with Su Fong's energy after a major circulation, forming a wonderful state of yin and yang fusion. After several rounds of crazy circulation, Su Fong found that everything had returned to normal. The frozen state had disappeared. Then, he was shocked to find that the power of the yin-yang world and the yang power that had almost been completely depleted just now had recovered to their peak state. The 72 yang meridians had become deeper and more vast. At this moment, it was as if he had been cultivating with Shu Wanjin for millions of years. The benefits it brought were naturally astonishing. Su Fang's eyes were filled with reverence as he looked at Mystery. Such a powerful existence was far beyond his imagination. Then, Mystery suddenly grabbed at the air. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The space of the suppressing prison codex trembled slightly. The void of the formation space rippled, and then a black mirror emerged from the ripples. The origin sacred mirror. He actually passed through the suppressing prison codex, the Tao River, the Advent Divine Palace and the heavenly chessboard to directly grab the origin sacred mirror in senior sister Shu Wanjin's hands. Su Fang was dumbfounded, and waves of monstrous waves were set off in his heart. The strength of a transcendence expert was completely beyond his imagination. It was really too shocking. It's just the projection of the inside of the origin sacred mirror. Even if I have the strength to transcend heaven and earth, I can't pass through the obstruction of the Tao River to control the origin sacred mirror. Seeing Su Fang's doubts, Mystery explained in a few words. Then, he quickly formed a seal and condensed a black energy seed, which he inserted into the black mirror. The black mirror and the energy seed quickly disappeared from the inner space of the suppressing prison codex. After doing all this, Mystery's face was obviously paler. It was obvious that he had consumed a lot of energy. Su Fang asked curiously, "Senior, what are you doing?" "The woman who holds the inside of the origin sacred mirror is fated to be with me. She can be considered half my successor. Therefore, I used my strength to condense an energy seed and implanted it into her body through the channel of the origin sacred mirror to help her. It'll be much easier for her to cultivate the 9E9 changes in the future. If nothing unexpected happens, she'll be at least a middle-rank lord when she comes out of the heavenly chessboard." Ah! Su Fang was shocked once again, and then he was pleasantly surprised. Then, Su Fang pushed his luck. "Senior, why don't you take action and rescue senior sister from the Advent Divine Palace? If she can't even solve such a small matter, how can she be my successor? Moreover, if I enter the place where she's trapped, there will be unpredictable changes. Therefore, I can't rescue her," Mystery said coldly, completely dispelling Su Fang's idea. She glanced at Su Fang and continued, "Do you want to ask why the energy seed I condensed could pass through the origin sacred mirror so easily? And why it could help that woman cultivate the 9E9 changes?" Su Fang was very curious and nodded repeatedly. "That's because my strength is the power of 9 underworld." Mystery's words made Su Fang's head explode. He understood many things in an instant. Mystery waved at Goddess Luo in the distance. "Since you're this boy's cultivation partner and helped me escape, and you're from beyond the heavens, I'll give you an opportunity." Goddess Luo could not help but fly in front of Mystery. Mystery waved her hand and a black Xian Guang appeared. It enveloped an object that looked like a peach pit. It gave off an aura that Su Fang could not describe. It was mysterious, vast, and encompassed the heavens and the earth. Goddess Luo's eyes flickered with disbelief. "This is, you're from beyond the heavens. The things in this universe are not very useful to you. This pregnant heavenly Tao core is the incomplete Tao core that I obtained from a powerhouse that I killed by chance when I was training in the heavens. You just need to keep fusing with the Tao core and absorb its essence. It'll be very beneficial to your cultivation. If you put in some effort and use your blood essence and strength to nurture it, it might save your life in the future." He did not understand. Su Fang did not understand Mystery's words and this mysterious Tao core at all. The only thing he knew was that Goddess Luo had benefited greatly. Chapter 2330. "Most of my power has been sucked out by that old ghost, and I've been shackled for so many years. The chances of me leaving this universe are slim. This pregnant heavenly Tao core is useless to me. It's just a worthless toy." This was how domineering a transcending level expert was. Even Goddess Luo was extremely excited about this peerless treasure. Moreover, it was a treasure that came from beyond the heavens, yet he had casually given it away as a worthless toy. Goddess Luo thanked Mystery and carefully stored the pregnant heavenly Tao core in her body. Su Fang transmitted his voice. Goddess, what kind of treasure is this pregnant heavenly Tao core? Even you are so tempted by it? The pregnant heavenly Tao core is a supreme existence second only to heavenly venerables. It's a peerless treasure specially used to nurture a successor. This Tao core allows me to have unlimited achievement. There's even a slight chance that I can become a supreme heavenly venerate. After my blood and life force fuses with the Tao core, even if my original body dies, I can be reborn through the Tao core. It's equivalent to having an extra life. However, I need some special spiritual items from beyond the heavens. Unexpectedly, Goddess Luo received such a great benefit. Su Fang was a little jealous. He looked at Mystery with eager eyes. Mystery had given Shu Wanjun and Goddess Luo such a great benefit. He definitely wouldn't leave out a treasure. Who would complain about having too much? Mystery snorted. Any treasure is an external force. Cultivation depends on oneself. There's no such thing as reaching the heavens in a single bound. Su Fang touched the tip of his nose and smiled bitterly. It seemed like he had done all this for nothing. Mystery then pointed at the clone that was replicated by the Origin Sacred Mirror. A great benefit is right in front of you. Are you still not satisfied? Senior, you mean? Su Fang looked at Mystery's clone. His eyes instantly lit up. That clone was replicated by the Origin Sacred Mirror using the blood essence of a transcendent second only to a supreme heavenly venerate. How could it be ordinary? He didn't expect Mystery to give his clone to him. You said, this doppelganger of mine doesn't have my consciousness, so you can control it. As for its strength, you're lucky. Even in its weakest state, this doppelganger can display the strength of an ordinary sovereign master. Su Fang was wild with joy. Ancestor? Doesn't that mean I have an Emperor Realm Master by my side? QL11 You poured a bucket of cold water on Su Fang. Don't celebrate too early. I estimate that this doppelganger can only be used 3 times at most. After that, its energy will be exhausted. If you want to continue using his power, you need to find a gem called the 9 Nether Embryo Stone, which is formed from the essence of the world's Een. The higher the quality of the 9 Nether Embryo Stone, the more powerful the clone will be. 9 Nether Embryo Stone? Not only Su Fang, but even Goddess Luo did not know what it was. Mystery also explained. Looking at the Tao River that was constantly devouring the prison-suppressing codex, he said coldly, as hateful as that old ghost is, how can he allow his Tao River to be sullied by a resurrected sovereign? It's time to deal with the resurrected sovereign. Su Fang immediately became spirited. Unfortunately, a battle of that level was not something that a mere Tao integration cultivator like him could interfere in. He was not even qualified to watch. Who knew? Mystery looked at Su Fang and chuckled. Kid, do you want to experience what it feels like to crush a sovereign? Senior, do you mean you want to use my divine body to kill Jiang Taijia? You're not too stupid. If you don't dare, then forget it. Don't dare? Why wouldn't I dare? Crush a supreme sovereign? Just thinking about it made Su Fang's blood boil. Su Fang released a burst of divine power and took Goddess Luo into his natal treasure, the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. She had just obtained the pregnant heavenly Tao core and needed time to fuse with it. Then, Su Fang also took Mystery's doppelganger into the depths of his inner world. This was his trump card against a sovereign. In the past, he was like a weakling in front of a sovereign. He did not even have the courage to face them directly. Now, with Mystery's doppelganger and the Origin Sacred Mirror's 4 divisions seal, Su Fang had a certain level of confidence even when facing a sovereign. A great harvest. This was also because Su Fang had risked his life in the inner space of the prison suppression codec. After experiencing life and death danger time and time again, not only had he found the hope of survival, but he had also obtained an amazing reward. However, the fatal danger had not been completely eliminated yet. It was too early to be happy now. Mystery's figure flickered and instantly turned into an illusory black light, directly entering Su Fang's body. She's not polite at all. She didn't even greet me. Su Fang was speechless for a while. Then, he flew straight to the area that had been infiltrated by the Dao River. At this time, at least half of the prison suppression codex had been integrated into the Dao River. Almost all of the Dao River had been polluted by the Death Qi and was wantonly spreading toward the Dao Sea, where the heavenly Dao's origin was gathered. As soon as he fell into the Dao River, Su Fang felt like he was an ant that had jumped into an endless river. All his struggles were futile. Any wave could swallow him up. Heavenly Dao. This was the true heavenly Dao. Even transcendence could not control it. Except for celestial venerables, any powerhouse would be swallowed up by the rolling great Dao in this Dao River. A Dao integration realm cultivator like Su Fang could not even make a splash when he fell into the Dao River. Boom! A cold divine power gushed out from Su Fang's body. In an instant, it took control of his divine body and divine apertures. Apart from his consciousness, everything else was out of control. Su Fang felt that he had become the most powerful existence in the world at this time. He could destroy the world with one hand. Mystery had used his unparalleled strength to take control of Su Fang's divine body. At this time, Su Fang could only be a bystander. This feeling was very strange. At the same time, Su Fang felt very uncomfortable. No one wanted to be controlled by others. Su Fang slowly rose from the Dao River. Stepping on a wave that was swept up by the great Dao's nomological laws, he went straight down the river. You're not dead yet. Not only are you not dead, but you can also be so calm in the Dao River? Jiang Taiji's shocked and incredulous voice came from the depths of the Dao River. He felt like a mortal who had bumped into a living ghost in broad daylight. How could he not be shocked? A Dao integration realm cultivator was being hunted down by Yi Ling, who had reached the Dharch level in the prison suppressing codec. Not only did a dignified Dharch fail to kill Su Fang, but he was also killed by Su Fang. Jiang Taijie originally felt that it was inconceivable. However, because he had merged with the Dao River, he could not split himself to investigate. He did not expect that. Not only was Su Fang not dead, but he also appeared in the Dao River. Even a Dharch powerhouse would find it difficult to be so calm in the Dao River. How could Jiang Taijie not be shocked by this scene? Not simple at all. I didn't expect to meet such an extraordinary human cultivator before I disappear in the Dao River. The Dao River churned. A strong aura of death gushed out and condensed into Jiang Taijie's figure. At this moment, Jiang Taijie had already merged with the Dao River. With the help of the Heavenly Supervisor token, he had merged the aura of death into the Dao River. Because of this, he also had a certain level of ability to control the Dao River. Although he could not transcend in this Dao River, he had the strength equivalent to the supreme existence of the imperial people. Although you will die sooner or later, I still want to kill you with my own hands. I'm really curious about what secrets you have other than the Origin Sacred Mirror. Jiang Taijie's evil voice rippled along with the Dao River. Then, the Dao River below him churned into a stormy wave and swept towards Su Fang. Suddenly, Su Fang took a step forward. As he ran, streaks of dark aura gathered into a shocking torrent and collided with Jiang Taijie's stormy waves. Rumble! The Dao River shook, and the river waters stirred up huge waves. The shaking of the Dao River caused the myriad worlds in the heavens to fall into a violent turmoil, as if the end of the world had arrived. All the existences in the myriad worlds thought that the calamity had completely erupted. All of them trembled in fear and despair. Before the aftershock of the collision dissipated, Su Fang's divine body shuttled out of the surging Dao River and pounced towards Jiang Taijie. Impossible, you can't be a Dao integration cultivator. You're a transcendent. Only then did Jiang Taijie realize that something was wrong and spat out the Heavenly Supervisor token. Unexpectedly, before he could activate it, Su Fang reached out and grabbed. The Heavenly Supervisor token flew uncontrollably into Su Fang's hand. Since the creation of the world, there have only been a handful of transcendents who have been able to transcend the world and the universe. Who exactly are you? Jiang Taijie realized that something was wrong and asked in shock. You're just a mere Dharch who was resurrected with the help of the world's metamorphosis. You don't have the right to know my identity. Su Fang spoke majestically, but it was not Su Fang's voice, but Nethery's voice. That's right, I do not have the right to face a transcendent, but so what? At this time, the Dao River has already been tainted by me. The heavenly Dao has lost its order, and the world is in chaos. In the end, even the Dao Sea will be completely tainted. No matter who you are, unless you're a heavenly venerable of creation, you won't be able to escape death. Jiang Taijie laughed wantonly, and the entire Dao River shook and undulated. It looked very shocking. There are thousands of Dao rivers. The one you tainted is only the heavenly Dao's river of order. It's not enough to threaten the heavenly Dao. Nethery sneered disdainfully. Suddenly, Su Fang opened his mouth. A cold Xian Guang spiraled and surged in his mouth, instantly forming a black vortex. It was dark and eerie, as if it could devour the world. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Dao River was directly sucked into Su Fang's mouth and continuously devoured by the vortex in his mouth. Jiang Taijie's divine body twisted and deformed. In the end, it collapsed and involuntarily whizzed toward Su Fang. He shouted in despair, I know who you are. You're the son of the heavenly Dao and the supreme ruler of the 10 underworlds. Later, you were suppressed by the heavenly venerables because you went against the heavenly Dao. You're actually still alive. You talk too much. Nethery's cold voice came from Su Fang's body. Whoosh! Chapter 23:31. The Endless Path River was sucked into Mystery's stomach. At this time, Mystery was controlling Su Fang. Su Fang could only watch all of this, but he could not do anything. Although it was Mystery who swallowed the Path River, Su Fang felt that he had forcibly swallowed the Path River. Moreover, it was the river of heavenly Dao's order that had been tainted by the resurrected expert. How could Su Fang not be frightened? His primordial spirit consciousness almost collapsed from fear. I actually swallowed a Path River. After an unknown period of time, the Path River was completely swallowed by Mystery. Then, Mystery floated out of Su Fang's body and condensed into a physical state. Su Fang also returned to his normal state and got rid of the feeling of being controlled. Just as he was about to ask, whoosh! Mystery's physical body suddenly collapsed layer by layer, turning into a dark river that flowed wantonly and instantly replaced the previous Path River. At this time, the Path River had become completely different. In the gloomy and cold river, numerous phantoms floated. Chilly winds blew, accompanied by the mournful cries of malicious spirits. It felt as if they had arrived at the legendary Netherworld. As the river flowed, there was a supreme power of reincarnation, flowing endlessly. The strong death chi in the tainted Path River was merged and swallowed by the Black River. Although the speed was not very fast, the death chi was indeed gradually weakening. Su Fang was shocked. Senior, you can actually swallow the death chi in the Path River? Mystery's voice came from the dark river. Didn't you hear what the resurrected Di Zun said? I am the son of a celestial master, the supreme ruler of the 10 serenities. 10 serenities? There had always been legends of the 9 serenities, but Su Fang had never heard of the 10 serenities. Legend had it that the 9 serenities was once the deepest place in the world. It was dark and cold. After death, people would enter the path of reincarnation and go to the 9 serenities. However, that was just a legend. There was no 9 serenities in the current universe. The reincarnation after death had never been verified, so people believed that the 9 serenities did not exist. At the beginning of the Earth's birth, there were 10 divine suns in the highest part of the sky, and the 10 serenities in the deepest part. The divine sun governs life, while the 10 underworlds governs death and reincarnation. As for me, I am the ruler of the 10 underworlds. In the 10 underworlds, the 9 underworlds each have their own duties, and the deepest part is where I live. Very few people know of my existence, so they all think that there is only the 9 underworlds. I was sealed in the prison suppressing codex by the old ghost, and the old ghost used the essence of the 9 underworlds to refine the origin sacred mirror. From then on, the cycle of life and death became chaotic. I myself am a part of the heavenly Tao. This corrupted Tao river is the river of order of the heavenly Tao. As for me, I am the netherworld samsara river. Samsara is also a type of supreme order of the heavenly Tao. That's why I can transform into the netherworld samsara river and fuse with the river of order of the heavenly Tao. This is something no transcendence can do. The 10 underworlds is the land of death and reincarnation. Although the aura of death is evil, it still belongs to the category of death. Thus, the aura of death can't do anything to me. It'll just take some time and effort. Su Fong was enlightened. So that's how it is. Fortunately, you are here. Otherwise, if the river of order of the heavenly Tao was corrupted, the heaven and earth would lose its order and fall into chaos. A world-ending catastrophe would be unavoidable. You snorted coldly. Have you forgotten that I was sealed in the prison suppressing codex by the old ghost as a chess piece? It's because the old ghost had already deduced that this day would come. A dignified transcendent, the supreme ruler of the 10 underworlds, was actually treated as a chess piece by the heavenly sovereign. Su Fong was shocked. It will take a long time for me to devour the aura of death in the Tao River with the netherworld samsara river. After purifying the corrupted Tao River, I still have to follow the Tao River to its source and go to the Tao Sea. From there, I will enter the heavenly sovereign mountain to see what happened and whether the old ghost is still alive. You go first. Whoosh! A thick book flew out from the Tao River. It was the prison suppressing codex. However, the prison suppressing codex had become tattered. Not only were there traces of corrosion on the front and back cover, but the pages inside were also corroded. It was filled with an aura of death. Su Fong caught the prison-suppressing codex that flew over and asked in surprise, "Senior, what are you, kid, since you have obtained the origin sacred mirror and cultivated the 9 suns transformation, it means that you have already become the successor of the old ghost. Whether the heavenly Tao will be destroyed or whether the myriad of worlds will continue, I'm afraid that it will fall on your shoulders. I will leave the Heaven Supervisor token in your body and give you the prison-suppressing codex. Although these 2 divine artifacts of heavenly law have been corrupted by the aura of death, they are now ownerless items. It won't be difficult for the 9 suns' true fire of the origin sacred mirror to refine the aura of death. The power of these 2 divine artifacts of heavenly law will definitely be greatly reduced. They will probably only be left with 1/10 of their original power. However, it is just right for the current you. Kid, work hard. I'm afraid you don't have much time left. Yu's voice faintly came from the Tao River. Immediately, a divine might enveloped Su Fong and sent him out of the Tao River. Su Fong felt as if he had returned to reality from a state of nothingness. As soon as he appeared, he immediately sensed the familiar natural aura of heaven and earth. I'm finally out. Although he was temporarily unable to determine which star region he was in, Su Fong was still wild with joy and could not help but let out a long cry. It was too difficult. In the prison-suppressing codex, Su Fang originally thought that he had completely fallen into a desperate situation with no hope of survival. He did not expect that not only did he resolve a world-destroying crisis, but he also successfully escaped from the Tao River and returned to nature. Perhaps it was arranged by fate. If it were not for Su Fang's persistence and never giving up in a hopeless situation where he was bound to die, perhaps it would have been a different outcome. The prison suppressing codex is finally in my hands. Su Fang flipped his hand and took out the prison suppressing codex. Back then, the main purpose of entering the divine prison of heavenly law was to obtain the prison suppressing codex. He did not expect. He originally thought that this would be a very simple experience, but so many things had happened. Carefully recalling this experience, Su Fang felt like he was dreaming. Luo Xingtian was already dead, so the bet back then was meaningless. It would be best if he could obtain the Luo clan's heavenly chessboard replica, but it did not matter if he could not. The prison suppressing codex and the heaven supervisor token, as you said, indeed only have 1/10 of their power left. However, these two divine artifacts are supreme divine artifacts that monitor the heavenly Tao, surpassing any creation divine artifact. I'm afraid that no divine artifact other than the origin divine mirror can compare to them. Even if only 1/10 of their power is left, these two divine artifacts are still incomparably powerful. The prison suppressing codex can suppress experts, and any expert who refuses to submit will be suppressed by the prison suppressing codex. When the time comes, they will have no choice but to submit to my will and obey my orders. The Heaven Supervisor token can allow me to easily control the power of the heavenly Tao order. If I can completely merge with it, I will become a supreme existence that controls the heavenly Tao order. With these two divine artifacts, even venerable emperors will not be able to stop me, Su Fang, from stepping onto the supreme peak. Su Fang exuded strong confidence and was in high spirits at this moment. Ever since he ascended to the divine world, Su Fang had been trembling in fear at all times due to his lack of foundation and background. Even after entering the Yuan Tiangong and being conferred the title of saint by the supreme existence of the imperial people, Su Fang still did not have the capital to contend with those ancient divine clans and forces, let alone a supreme venerable emperor. Now, in addition to the prison-suppressing codex and the Heaven Supervisor token, Su Fang had also subdued more than 2,000 experts, especially one of Yu's clones. His overall strength had skyrocketed, and he already had the strength to contend with venerable emperors. His gains from the trip to the divine prison of law were far more than that. In addition to obtaining the fruit of sin, the fruit of Tao planting, the god-slaying saber, and other spiritual items and treasures. In terms of cultivation, he had also advanced to the 8th heaven of the Tao integration stage, and his natal magic treasure had also been successfully born. However, these gains were nothing compared to the condensing of the 72nd Yang Meridian and stepping into the 8th transformation. After stepping into the 8th transformation, not only did he obtain a new seal, but he also gained the ability to control the origin sacred mirror and understand more of its secret. Due to the changes in the divine prison of law this time, everyone thought that I would definitely die. My family, friends, and subordinates in the Yuan Tiangong and the origin heaven must be under great pressure, especially Xuanxin. Thinking of his family and friends, Su Fang was eager to return home. Just as he was about to leave, Su Fang's divine light suddenly changed, and he looked over. At some point, an old man had appeared 1,000 feet away. Even with Su Fang's sensing ability, he could not sense his arrival. This old man seemed to have transcended the heavens and earth, mysterious and incomparably powerful. Seeing the old man's appearance, Su Fang's heart trembled. The Holy Maiden's adoptive father is another supreme being. The legendary supreme beings that transcended the heavens and earth. Since ancient times, how many of them had been born? Su Fang actually met 2 of them consecutively. It was no wonder that he was so shocked. I didn't expect that you would really defy the heavens. Something that even a supreme being could not do was actually done by you, a mere Tao integration cultivator. This is probably the will of the heavens. The old man's voice sounded in Su Fang's mind. The voice of the void primordial spirit contained a hint of surprise and shock. Su Fang hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed. "Greetings, senior." The old man nodded and said, "Where's the holy maiden? Let her out." "Yes." Su Fang released Holy Maiden Luo from his body. "Adoptive father." Holy Maiden Luo was pleasantly surprised. The old man's cold voice echoed in Holy Maiden Luo's mind. "Little girl, I'll let you be willful this time. There won't be a next time. Also, don't forget what I told you before you entered the prison suppression codex." Holy Maiden Luo's eyes quickly dimmed. She looked at Su Fang, wanting to say something but hesitated. Finally, she said, "Su Fang, you go. I'll go with adoptive father." Su Fang revealed a reluctant expression and said, "Let's meet again when we return to Yuan Tiangong." "When we return to Yuan Tiangong, I'm afraid we'll already be strangers." Holy Maiden Luo sighed in her heart. "QL 11-inch little girl, let's go," the old man said casually. His tone was filled with supreme dignity. Su Fang, Holy Maiden Luo stretched out her right hand and drew a circle in the air with her index finger. It rapidly transformed into a biscuit. With a light stroke of her finger, the biscuit split into two. Chapter 2332. Goddess Luo took a deep look at Su Fang, as if she wanted to remember Su Fang's appearance in her heart. The moment she turned around, tears welled up in her eyes. Then, the elder took Goddess Luo and disappeared into the void. QL 11 buzz, buzz, buzz. The mysterious Tao runes from the life-shrinking technique suddenly flashed rapidly in Su Fang's mind. This time, it was not because someone was sensing his destiny aura. Instead, it was the fate and karma that existed between him and Goddess Luo. It was being ruthlessly severed by an extremely powerful and invisible force. Then, all the information about Goddess Luo slowly became blurry from Su Fang's memory. It's Goddess foster father. He actually cut off the destiny karma between Goddess Luo and me. Why? Why did he do that? Su Fang could not help but be shocked. Then, anger rose in his heart as a sharp aura exploded from his body. Although Goddess Luo's foster father had saved Su Fang's life in the prison suppressing codex, it did not mean that he could control Su Fang's destiny as he wished. No one can change Su Fang's destiny. Destiny is the creation of destiny and controls the heavenly secrets. If I want to live, the heavens cannot take it away. Life-shrinking technique. Su Fang did not hesitate to use the life-shrinking technique to fight against the invisible force that was cutting off his destiny karma. Although the life-shrinking technique was an extremely powerful destiny superpower, it was not omnipotent. The main reason was that Su Fang's cultivation was too low. Now, he was facing an unparalleled expert that came from beyond the heavens and the universe. Facing such a powerful existence, Su Fang was like an ant trying to shake a towering tree. The Tao runes burned wildly in the divine aperture and the surroundings. Su Fang's life force was also being consumed rapidly. His face was aging at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if time had sped up on him countless times. From the age of 17 or 18, he quickly became a middle-aged man, then an elder. However, Su Fang's eyes were flashing with madness and persistence. The experience in the illusion annihilation executioner mirror was an illusion, but it was real in the suppressing hell codex. For the sake of Su Fang, Goddess Luo entered the prison suppression codex without hesitation, even though she knew it was a dead end. She wanted to accompany him through the last moments of his life. At this moment, her adoptive father wanted to sever the karma of fate between her and Su Fang. This was equivalent to forcibly erasing Goddess Luo from Su Fang's fate. This was even more severe than directly killing Goddess Luo. At this moment, Su Fang did not care about anything else. His only thought was to keep Goddess Luo in his fate at all costs. However, everything was difficult to reverse. Before a transcendent level expert, Su Fang seemed incomparably insignificant and weak. No divine ability could change anything. With the loss of his life force, Su Fang's consciousness became blurry. Out of nowhere, Goddess Luo's godfather's thunderous voice rang out, "Su Fang, do you want to die? If there is no woman I love in my fate, what joy is there in life? Why do I have to die?" Su Fang replied telepathically with a smile on his face. Goddess Luo's godfather shouted angrily, "Fool! Goddess Luo came to this part of the universe with a mission. She cannot be tainted by the karma of fate with the people in this part of the universe. Otherwise, she will definitely die. This is her fate. No one can change it. I can only tell you this much. You have to think carefully." Fate, Su Fang muttered and subconsciously gave up resisting. Everything about Goddess Luo rapidly faded from Su Fang's memories until they disappeared. "Even if it is fate, I will defy the heavens and change my fate." At the last moment, Su Fang suddenly felt a surge of determination deep in his heart. He used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique again. It was not to resist the elder and forcefully retain the karma of fate between Goddess Luo and himself. Instead, it was to seal the half-piece of cake's mental image deep in his fate. At this moment, he could not change anything. However, one day, Su Fang swore to reverse time. He would go back to before today and recover all his memories. Then, Su Fang wanted to defy the heavens and change the fate between him and Goddess Luo. "I really don't know if you are foolish or stubborn," Goddess Luo's godfather sighed faintly. His voice disappeared from Su Fang's mind. After a long time, Su Fang slowly opened his eyes. There was a blank look in his eyes. Everything that happened just now and everything that happened between him and Goddess Luo had completely disappeared from his memory. However, there was still a vicious aura in his heart. The intense pain of losing something important in his life still existed clearly. "I am still too weak." Su Fang could not recall what had happened. However, he knew that a peerless expert had erased his memories. "I have to recover quickly and return to Yuan Tiangong. I cannot let anything happen to Father, Xuanxin, and the others." The feeling of losing something important in his life made Su Fang shudder. He hurriedly took out several blood crystals. They were formed from the life essence of the ferocious beast he killed in the prison suppressing codex. He could use them to recover his lost lifespan. In a star region far away from the Hunyuan heaven, there was a small realm called Uefu. At this moment, the Uefu god realm was surrounded by countless experts of the demonic path and the evil path. They were madly attacking the realm barrier of the god realm. Before the upheaval, the demonic path and the evil path were not tolerated by the righteous path. However, the two were not one. On the contrary, the demonic path and the evil path were evil and violent because of the cultivation techniques they cultivated. The two sides constantly clashed with each other. After the upheaval, especially after the heavenly Tao lost its order, the worlds in the universe fell into chaos. The demonic path and the evil path often joined forces to attack the god realm. This time, not only did the demonic path and the evil path have many people attacking the Uefu god realm, but there were also powerful experts among them. Under the repeated attacks, the realm barrier of the god realm crumbled layer by layer. It looked like it would not be long before they broke through. Everyone in the Uefu god realm fell into panic and despair. "Hold on, just hold on for a few more days. The experts of the Yuan Tiangong will come to rescue us." In the center of the Uefu god realm, on a floating mountain, a young man, who was protected by many experts, looked at the world barrier that was about to be breached with a terrified look on his face as he yelled out loudly, "Young Master Taiyun, I'm afraid the experts of the Yuan Tiangong won't be able to save us this time." An old man beside the young man said in a low voice. The youth clenched his teeth. I am an Earth realm genius of primordious heavenly palace, and my great-grandfather is an unsurpassed Empyrean, an unsurpassed existence that controls primordious heavenly palace. How could primordious heavenly palace not save me? So, the young man's name was Ji Taiyuan. He was a genius born in the Ji people. He was also a direct descendant of the Ji people's first ancestor. Due to the Su Fang, the Ji people's talent had withered. Although Ji Taiyuan's talent was extraordinary, it was nothing compared to the Yuan Tiangong realm. After the Ji people's first ancestor became a sovereign, he personally cleansed Ji Taiyuan's body and helped him quickly increase his cultivation. Currently, Ji Taiyuan had already reached the seventh heaven of the ultimate God realm. After that, the Ji people's first ancestor personally helped Ji Taiyuan get a spot in the Yuan Tiangong realm. Every Yuan Tiangong genius had to complete a basic mission within a set time limit. Ji Taiyuan came to the Yuefu God realm this time to complete the mission. The Yuefu God realm originally didn't have any resurrected experts. Compared to the other chaotic star fields in the universe, it was very safe. Furthermore, the Ji people sent many experts to protect Ji Taiyuan this time. This mission was supposed to be a golden opportunity. But who knew after Ji Taiyuan completed the mission, he couldn't pull himself out of the Yuefu God realm. When he was about to leave, he was surrounded by the experts of the Devil Dao and the Evil Dao. The old man sighed and said, "Right now the universe is in chaos. Even the Hunyuan Heaven realm is in chaos. Lord Emperor Ji can't leave without permission. The Yuan Tiangong also won't send experts to save the disciples who are out for training. Young Master Taiyuan, have you forgotten? Back then, when peerless geniuses like Di Yuan and Su Fang met with misfortune in the divine prison of law, the Yuan Tiangong didn't send experts to save them. Su Fang? Di Yuan? Su Fang, a dead genius. What kind of genius is he? As for Di Yuan, he is just a piece of trash. He lost his only chance to enter the exalted celestial mountain and caused the universe to fall into chaos." Ji Taiyuan snorted and snorted at Su Fang. Su Fang and Di Yuan also looked at each other with disdain. Su Fang. Ji Taiyuan looked at the three experts who accompanied him to protect him. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his deep eyes exuded coldness. Among the three people, one was an old man. He was tall and sturdy, with a square face and a powerful aura. He was Su Fang's guard, Fan Ming. The other one was a middle-aged man in a green robe. His eyes were sharp, and his face was filled with killing intent. He was Qing Yu in human form. The other one was a young girl in white. She was Bai Ling. It turned out that when the Ji people's first ancestor became a peerless supreme venerable and took control of the Hunyuan Heaven realm, Qing Yu and Bai Ling were worried about the safety of Su Fang's family. Therefore, they left the Yuan Tiangong and returned to the central realm. This time, when Ji Taiyuan went out for training, the Ji people used their official position for personal gain and transferred many experts from the Hunyuan Heaven realm to protect him. The central realm was also asked to send experts to accompany him. Although they said that they were going to protect Ji Taiyuan, everyone knew that the Ji people were planning to kill Su Fang's former subordinates during the training. They were going to find an opportunity to slowly weaken the central realm and eventually annex it. At this time, the Ji people were controlling the Hunyuan Heaven realm. The central realm's power was weakened again and again. In order to not give the Ji people an excuse, they had to obey the Ji people's orders. To be on the safe side, the central realm sent experts Fan Ming, Qing Yu, and Bai Ling this time. The three of them were not only powerful, but Qing Yu's speed was even more shocking. She also had the innate ability to transform into a Kuan. This made the Ji people unable to find an opportunity to attack during this training. We have to be careful. That little bastard Ji Taiyuan is probably going to attack us again. Chapter 23:33. Qing Yu replied, "Humph. If it wasn't for the fact that Su Fang's family is in the Fang Heaven world, I would have swallowed this brat. He is just a piece of trash from the G people. How can he be so arrogant in front of me? I wonder how Su Fong is doing now. If his second primordial spirit says that he is fine, then he must be fine. Let's wait for a few more days. When he returns to the Yuan Tiangong, let's see how arrogant the G people can be. But the G people have the supreme God. No matter how powerful Su Fong is, how can he fight against the supreme God? Qing Yu and Bai Ling fell into silence when they talked about the supreme God of the G people. They felt like they were facing a mountain that they could only look up at. The supreme God was like the heavenly Tao. No one could surpass them. Even the arrogant and ferocious big goblin had to be in awe of the supreme God. Everyone, listen to my orders. After Ji Taiyuan communicated with the old man from the Ji people using his primordial spirit, he shouted at his subordinate. Looking at Qin Yu, Bai Ling and Fan Ming, Ji Taiyuan shouted, "The three of you, break out of the encirclement towards the southeast. You are responsible for attracting the attention of the demon Dao and the evil Dao." What? Qin Yu, Bai Ling and Fan Ming's eyes flickered as they were enraged. Why was this happening? There was a group of evil Dao forces in the southeast of the Yu Fu God world. It was not an ordinary evil Dao force. It was the infamous Shura race that once dominated the universe. The Shura race was born from blood. They loved to kill. They devoured the blood of humans and Big Goblin to strengthen themselves. Not only were they powerful, but they were also extremely evil. If it wasn't for the fact that the Shura race had very few members, they would have surpassed the demon race and become the most evil race in the universe. The Shura race experts that surrounded the Yu Fu God world were all very powerful. Previously, Ji Taiyuan had sent a powerful expert to test the waters. In the end, a powerful expert at the late stage of the Dao integration stage was devoured alive by an Azura powerhouse, leaving only a piece of skin and a pile of rotten bones. Ji Taiyuan had ordered Qin Yu, Bai Ling, and Fan Ming to break out of the encirclement from the southeast. It was clear that he wanted them to be cannon fodder and draw the attention of the Shura and other evil and devil Dao experts so that Ji Taiyuan could escape. Fan Ming was burning with anger. He shouted, "Young Master Ji, don't go too far. Are you going to disobey my orders?" Ji Taiyuan looked at the three of them coldly. Soon after, he coldly shouted in a domineering manner, "You dare to disobey my orders. Not only will you not be able to escape death, but the heaven realm will also be severely punished. You should think clearly about the consequences." Fan Ming gritted his teeth, but he could only swallow his anger. Ji Taiyuan's other subordinates, a total of more than 100 experts, looked at Qin Yu, Bai Ling and Fan Ming with eyes full of sympathy, but most of them were gloating. At this time, they were surrounded by the devil Dao and evil Dao, and there was only a slim chance of survival. Someone had gone out to draw away the strong enemies and create an opportunity for them. Fan Ming, what's the point of reasoning with them? Let's go. Qin Yu arrogantly shouted and flew towards the southeast with Bai Ling and Fan Ming. With Qin Yu's speed, there was a chance that they could break out of the encirclement. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As soon as Qin Yu, Bai Ling, and Fan Ming rushed out of the world barrier, hundreds of Shura experts immediately flew towards them. So many Shura experts! Qin Yu's divine light suddenly changed, and he immediately sucked Fan Ming and Bai Ling into his stomach. Then, he transformed into a huge koan that was 100,000 miles long. His huge tail swayed with divine might that shook the heavens and earth. A terrifying spatial storm swept up and forced the 100 Azura experts back. Then, like a fish in the sea, he dove into the void. What a powerful Qinping big goblin! Capture him! The Shura experts all chased after Qin Yu. Some of the devil Dao and evil Dao experts also split off and chased after Qin Yu. Here's our chance! Ji Taiyuan was overjoyed. He immediately ordered the cultivators of the Moon Fortune realm to break out of the encirclement in different directions to attract the attention of the Devil Dao and Evil Dao expert. Then, under the protection of many powerful cultivators, he charged out of the Moon Fortune realm's world barrier. Whoosh! Qingyu parted the void and escaped from the turbulent flow of space. Before he could heave a sigh of relief, a violent and incomparably evil aura suddenly descended, enveloping his enormous body. A dense murderous aura condensed into a world, shackling Qingyu within. A sense of fear rose from the bottom of Qingyu's heart. Damn it! There's a Dao integration pinnacle stage cultivator among the evil Dao. The gap between them was simply too big. Qingyu's rate of improvement over the past few years was astonishing. His strength was comparable to that of an early-stage Dao integration stage cultivator. Even if Qingyu used his Koan transformation talent, he was only equivalent to a Dao integration pinnacle stage mid-stage Dao integration pinnacle stage cultivator. However, he was currently facing a Dao integration pinnacle stage cultivator who was only one step away from becoming a master god. Moreover, this Dao integration pinnacle stage cultivator was an expert of the evil Dao who specialized in killing. There was no way Qingyu could escape. Whoosh! A figure slowly emerged from the world of slaughter. It was a demon monkey. Its eyes flashed with a violent and evil light, and its entire body burned with evil flames. It exuded an aura that could defy heaven and earth, as well as a terrifying killing intent. It was majestic, domineering, violent, and evil. Qingyu was stunned. His eyes flashed with a terrifying light, and his gaze was filled with disbelief. Brother Qingyu, how have you been? The demon monkey grinned, revealing an evil and eerie smile. The voice that came out of its mouth was Su Fang's voice, but it carried a chilling coldness. It turned out that this demon monkey was an immortal blood spirit created by Su Fang using the remnant consciousness of the demon monkey and his own netherworld reincarnation Great Dao. Later, Su Fang let a yang spirit reside in the immortal blood spirit's body and went to the turbid cloud divine realm to pick up the second primordial spirit and Qingyu, who had returned from the great world. QL11, however, the immortal blood spirit never returned, and there was no news of it. Unexpectedly, Qingyu actually saw the immortal blood spirit here. What shocked Qingyu even more was that the immortal blood spirit's current strength had reached the peak of the ninth heaven of the Dao integration pinnacle stage. It was only one step away from becoming a master god. Its strength was truly astonishing. Qingyu stammered, "Su Fang, it's really you?" The demon monkey smiled coldly. "Brother Qingyu, it's me. To be precise, it's my immortal blood spirit." Qingyu hurriedly returned to his human form and spat out Bai Ling and Fan Ming from his mouth. Seeing the demon monkey and learning about its origin, Bai Ling was surprised and delighted. Fan Ming was dumbfounded, and his heart was in turmoil. Whoosh! A man in blood-red clothes broke through the air. His entire body seemed to be made of blood, and he was wearing a blood-red cloak. This was a young man who looked to be in his early 20s. He had sword-like eyebrows, bright eyes, a square face, and a curly beard. He exuded a bold and wild aura. Unlike the demon monkey, this man in blood-red clothes had an aura of nothingness. There was a domineering and cold murderous aura in his eyes. One look at him, and a horrifying illusion of a roaring sea of blood and a monstrous massacre would appear before one's eyes. Fan Ming's expression changed instantly. Azura, and such a powerful Azura! Qingyu and Bai Ling were pleasantly surprised. Luo. This man in blood-red clothes was the former Azura king, Luo. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Hundreds of Azuras chased after Qingyu, followed by more than 300 demon Dao and evil Dao cultivators. Fan Ming fell into despair once again. There was a powerful Azura in front of him, and there were so many experts chasing after him. No matter how extraordinary the immortal blood spirit created by Su Fang was, it could not face so many experts. "Greetings, my king." Hundreds of Azura experts knelt down and bowed to Luo. The demonic Dao and evil Dao experts all stopped in their tracks in fear. Luo's blood-red eyes scanned those demon Dao and evil Dao cultivators and said casually, "These two big goblin and this human cultivator are this king's friends. Go now." Although those demon Dao and evil Dao cultivators were unwilling, they were afraid of Luo and the demon monkey's strength, and could only leave in embarrassment. Fan Ming was dumbfounded, completely stupefied. "Two little guys, how have you been?" Luo laughed heartily at Qingyu and Bai Ling. He was very happy. So, the demon monkey and Su Fang's subordinates went to pick up their relatives from the macro world, but they encountered Luo, who was being chased by Azuras. So the demon monkey came to Luo's rescue and helped him escape from the pursuit. After that, Azuras pursued Luo relentlessly. Several of Su Fang's subordinates were all killed in battle. In the escape, the demon monkey devoured countless Azuras, big goblin, and cultivators, and became more and more powerful. After Luo merged with his physical body, he quickly recovered his powerful strength and even improved a lot. At the same time, he also subdued many loyal clansmen and gradually gained his own power. Hearing that Su Fang died in the divine prison of law, Luo was anxious and rushed to the Hunyuan heaven realm with the demon monkey and his subordinate. When passing through the Yuefu realm, they were invited by the evil Dao cultivators to hunt down the Yuan Tiangong genius, Ji Taiyuan. Luo was anxious to find out about Su Fang, so he wanted to capture Ji Taiyuan alive, but he did not expect to meet Qingyu and Bai Ling. From Qingyu, he learned that Su Fang's whereabouts were unknown, but he was not dead. Only then did Luo feel relieved. In fact, Su Fang's yang spirit lived in the demon monkey's divine aperture. If Su Fang's original body died, the yang spirit would definitely sense it. Luo had long guessed that Su Fang would be fine, but he was still a little worried. Hearing what happened to Qingyu, Bai Ling, and Fan Ming, Su Fang's yang spirit spoke in a domineering voice from the demon monkey's body. "I didn't expect that the Ji people would have a chance to turn over a new leaf. But so what? If Su Fang can trample on the Ji people once, then I can trample on the Ji people a second time." Luo Weiran said, "The Ji people have given birth to a supreme sovereign at this time. He is not someone you can fight against at this time. Why don't you take your father, other relatives, and friends out of the Hunyuan heaven realm and follow this king to find a place to settle down in the myriad worlds?" Su Fang nodded and said, "Everything will wait until there is news from the original body. Let's go and kill the so-called genius of the Ji people and collect some interest first." Chapter 2334. Ji Taiyuan fought his way out of the encirclement. Only the old man from the Ji people was left by his side. Not only were all the experts and guards killed by the experts of the Devil Dao and the Evil Dao, but Ji Taiyuan also lost a talisman given to him by the Ji people's first ancestor to save his life. If it wasn't for the talisman personally created by the Ji people's first ancestor, Ji Taiyuan wouldn't have been able to escape this calamity. He would have been devoured by the experts of the Devil Dao and the Evil Dao just like the others. "I've finally escaped. This time, I'll return to the Yuan Tiangong. I'll never leave the Earth Realm Dao Hall again." Ji Taiyuan wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked in the direction of the Moon Fortune Divine World with lingering fear. QL11, the old man from the Ji people, was also very glad. "Young master, there are dangers everywhere in the universe. It's better for you to return to the Yuan Tiangong as soon as possible to avoid any more accident." Suddenly, the old man from the Ji people's divine light changed instantly. This person's cultivation was extraordinary. He was a powerful expert of the Domain Lord realm. His senses were very strong and he could sense the abnormalities in the void. A huge green pung split open the void and came out like a big fish swimming in the water. "The demon rock under Su Fang?" Ji Taiyuan revealed an expression of disbelief. "You're still alive after being chased by the Azura experts?" "Young Master Ji is still alive, so how can I die?" The green rock returned to his human form and said coldly. Then, he spat out several figures. The old man from the G people and Ji Taiyuan were dumbfounded when they saw the Azura and the demon monkey, as well as the Azura experts. Then, Ji Taiyuan shouted, "You colluded with the Azura. Aren't you afraid that the Feng Tian world will be destroyed by the supreme sovereign of my race? No one will know after I kill you. Sooner or later, I'll destroy the G people with my own hands." An essence spirit flew out of the demon monkey's divine aperture and quickly turned into a yang spirit. It was almost identical to Su Feng in his physical state. Su Feng. There wasn't a single person in the Ji clan who didn't recognize Su Feng. When they saw Su Feng's sun spirit, it wasn't just Ji Taiyuan. The old man from the Ji clan also turned pale and began to tremble. To the Ji people, Su Feng was a nightmare. Except for the Ji people's supreme sovereign, no one from the Ji people was not afraid of Su. It's just Su Feng's yang spirit. How much trouble can it cause? Su Feng's essence spirit wasn't Feng's real body. Feng's Taiyang spirit was relieved and he sighed. Su Fengyang coldly glanced at Ji Taiyuan and the old man from the Ji clan with a disdainful attitude. He then gave the order to the demon monkey that was filled with killing intent. "Kill them!" Ji Taiyuan shouted, "The supreme sovereign of my race is my great-grandfather. Su Feng, if you dare to kill me, the Ji Emperor will bury the entire Feng Tian world with me." He was confident that he had the support of a supreme sovereign. Even in the face of death, he was still arrogant. He believed that Su Feng wouldn't dare to kill him. "Young Master Taiyuan, leave quickly. I'll use my divine abode to hold them back." The old man from the Ji people wasn't as naive as Ji Taiyuan. He immediately ignited his own body and unleashed the maximum power that a Tao integration stage cultivator could unleash. Invisible sound waves swept out and turned into a world filled with heavenly sound. "Heavenly fire, divine lord, I swear I'll kill you." The demon monkey let out a violent and ferocious roar. The space between his eyebrows suddenly split open. A divine shadow leaped out and instantly swept across the sky. It transformed into a huge staff and smashed toward Ji Taiyuan and the old man from the Ji people with a terrifying aura that could shatter heaven and earth. The old man from the Ji people's heavenly sound world instantly collapsed. The defense he had unleashed only lasted for a moment before it was smashed into pieces by the huge staff. The old man and Ji Taiyuan were also smashed into meat paste in an instant. Then, they were completely devoured by the demon monkey. Although the demon monkey was an immortal blood spirit created by Su Feng, it possessed the innate divine powers it had when it was alive. Not only was it ferocious, but it was also extremely powerful. Almost no one below the Tao integration stage could withstand one of its attacks. Luo raised his eyebrows. He was also a little wary of such a terrifying and ferocious demon monkey. Bai Ling said reluctantly, "It's too easy for him to kill that brat just like that." Su Feng said disdainfully, "He's just an ant among the Ji people. It's not worth spending too much effort on him." Suddenly a wisp of ethereal and mysterious energy turned into a strange Tao rune. It suddenly appeared around Su Feng's yang spirit like a thunderbolt. The divine light of Su Feng's yang spirit changed instantly. Immediately, a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Luo asked in surprise, "Su Feng, what happened?" Su Feng's yang spirit said with a smile, "It's the original body. It has escaped from the prison suppression codex and obtained a great opportunity." It turned out that Su Feng's original body had used the divine life shrinking technique to sense this yang spirit. Extraordinary, really extraordinary. He was able to escape from a hopeless situation where he was bound to die. As soon as this brat comes back, the Yuan Tiangong will be lively. Luo's blood-red eyes revealed a look of disbelief as he praised repeatedly. Qingyu, Bai Ling, Fan Ming, and the others were all surprised and delighted. Let's go to the Hunyuan heaven realm and meet up with the original body. Everyone was sucked into Qingyu's stomach, including Luo's Azura subordinates. Then, Qingyu used his innate ability and traveled through the void. The Hunyuan heaven realm. Outside the world barrier, a city wall created with supreme magical power surrounded the entire Hunyuan heaven realm. The Black City Wall was integrated with the void and the world barrier of the Hunyuan heaven realm by a powerful formation. It was incomparably solid. Unless a supreme sovereign personally took action, no one could shake it. Countless fortresses were built on the city wall, and all kinds of huge defensive divine weapons could be seen everywhere. This unique city wall was the first line of defense of the Hunyuan heaven realm, the Blood Wall. In front of the city wall, countless corpses floated. There were gods, but most of them were resurrected cultivators, big goblin and demons. They floated in the void, gathering into a sea of death. The aura of death and the smell of decay permeated the void, as if they had arrived at the 9th level of hell. At this time, there were countless resurrected experts, like locusts, swarming towards the blood wall. From the blood wall, wave after wave of powerful attacks were released, bombarding the resurrected experts. However, there were too many resurrected experts, and they charged towards the blood wall dauntlessly. The gods guarding the blood wall had no choice but to fight their way out of the blood wall and engage in a life-and-death battle with the resurrected experts. Ever since the order of the heavenly Tao was thrown into chaos and the myriad worlds fell into chaos, the resurrected experts seemed to be inexhaustible as they launched endless attacks on the humans. At this moment, the scene on the Crimson Wall was playing out almost every day. It would appear in every god realm. The gods guarding the blood wall were not only Yuan Tiangong experts, but also deities sent by the major factions of the Hunyuan heaven realm. According to the decree of the Ji people's first ancestor, each faction was responsible for guarding a section of the blood wall. If the section was breached, the entire faction would be driven out of the Hunyuan heaven realm. In the beginning, in order to protect their last place of survival, every cultivator did not hesitate to die and fight to the end. But now, everyone had fallen into a state of complete despair and had fallen into a state of numbness. Diyuan had failed at the exalted celestial mountain. The destruction of heaven and earth was inevitable. The entire heavenly Tao would be engulfed by the catastrophe, and no one would be lucky enough to survive. Other than escaping to Yuan Tiangong, where they could continue to struggle at death's door, the Hunyuan heaven realm would be conquered by the resurrected experts sooner or later. Therefore, the morale of all the cultivators had fallen to the lowest point. If it were not for the Yuan Tiangong experts, the blood wall's defensive line would have collapsed by itself. Whoosh! A section of the blood wall was breached by the resurrected expert. It's the section of the blood wall that the Sky Realm is in charge of. According to the decree of the Ji Emperor, any faction that breaks the blood wall will be driven out of the Hunyuan heaven realm. The people of the Sky Realm are doomed this time. The Su Fang was so arrogant in the past. The Sky Realm has only themselves to blame for falling to such a state. The section of the blood wall that was breached was the responsibility of the Sky Realm. Countless resurrected experts charged towards the blood wall and engaged in a chaotic battle with the cultivators on the blood wall. If it were any other place that had been breached, there would immediately be experts from the nearby defensive line coming to support. However, when the Sky Realm's defensive line was breached, the cultivators on both sides of the blood wall were laughing at this scene. None of them came to support. Boom! An ethereal primordial spirit's divine power swept across the blood wall like raging waves. The resurrected experts who had rushed up to the blood wall were like wheat being blown by a gust of wind, falling down in droves. However, the Sky Realm cultivators guarding the city were all safe and sound. It could be seen that the expert who used the divine power of the primordial spirit had exquisite control over the power of the primordial spirit. Master is mighty. Su Fang is mighty. The Sky Realm cultivators shouted loudly. Their spirits were lifted, and they killed the resurrected experts who charged towards the blood wall one by one. It was Su Fang's second primordial spirit that had made a move. Kill. Su Fang's second primordial spirit, who was residing in the body of the fiend god monster, let out a voice full of killing intent and directly charged out of the blood wall. Boom! The power of yin and yang, which was the fusion of the fiend god power, suddenly erupted and formed a world with a radius of 10,000 miles. The resurrected experts were all killed by the power of yin and yang in the world of the second primordial spirit. The second primordial spirit once again activated the power of the primordial spirit. Waves of primordial spirit sword energy swept out like raging wave. The army of resurrected experts in front of the blood wall instantly became much smaller. The power of the primordial spirit surpassed that of the Tao integration realm and even the average master god. People, Sanskrit Big Dipper sect. The fiend god monster looked at the cultivators who were watching the show on both sides of the Sky Realm's defensive line, his eyes surging with intense killing intent. As it turned out, the people had deliberately arranged for the Sky Realm to be between the Brahma Heaven Realm's Sanskrit and Big Dipper sect's defensive line. Moreover, of the masters that Primordius Heavenly Palace sent out, the defensive lines of the other influences all had peerless sovereign gods presiding over them. Of the Primordius Heavenly Palace masters guarding the defensive lines of this celestial world, the strongest one was a region lord. What was especially hateful was that not only did Sanskrit and Big Dipper sect not lend a hand, they even deliberately drove the resurrected experts towards the Sky Realm. This caused the Sky Realm to be under pressure several times that of the other forces. This caused the Sky Realm's experts to suffer heavy losses in recent years. They had no choice but to defend the blood wall. Otherwise, they would give the people an excuse and the Sky Realm would be in danger. Suddenly. Chapter 2335. In the deepest part of Yuan Tiangong, the sanctum of sages floated in the chaotic space. Yuan lay weakly on the throne in the main hall, as if his soul had been sucked out. He had lost his backbone, and his spirit was dispirited and listless. The former imperial people's young master Zun was nowhere to be seen at this moment. Failed. Yuan actually failed. Heaven and earth worship me, and all living beings revere me. Everything has brushed past me. It's all over. Heaven and earth are about to be destroyed, and I will die with heaven and earth. Su Fang. Even the supreme existence of my race thinks that I'm inferior to Su Fang. Yuan am actually inferior to a dead genius. Ever since he returned from the celestial worthy mountain, Yuan had been immersed in this state of depression, as if he was a living dead. The failure of the celestial worthy mountain was too great a blow to him. He was unable to recover from the setback and fell into depravity. He became very suspicious, afraid of the way others looked at him, and even more afraid of others talking about him behind his back. Thus, he sealed himself in the sanctum of sages. At this moment, Yuan, have become the sinner of the entire universe. I have become the laughingstock of everyone. No, Yuan, must not sink into depravity like this. I must pull myself together. I must not become the laughingstock of others. Yuan barely managed to pull himself together. Using the divine might of the Sanctum of Sages, he prepared to contact the Ashen Flame Sea. Every movement of the guards in the Sanctum of Sages was instantly sensed by him. The only chance to open the celestial worthy mountain was wasted by Yuan. It's over, it's all over. If it was Saint Su Fang, he would definitely be able to enter the celestial worthy mountain successfully. Perhaps it would be a different situation now. Saint Su Fang has been cultivating diligently in the Sanctum of Sages. Our current saint only knew how to use the Sanctum of Sages to show off his power. Now, he is sighing in the main hall all day long. How can he be compared with Saint Su Fang? Hearing the discussions of those guards, Yuan's face instantly turned as pale as paper, and his body trembled violently. I heard that a few days ago, Phoenix Xuanxin passed the 70th floor of the 10,000 spell tower, causing a sensation in the Yuan Tiangong. As expected of a woman from Su Fang. Even at a time like this, she still refuses to give up. This is a true cultivator. Our holy son can't even compare to Su Fang's Taoist companion. How can he compare to Su Fang? Hearing this, a sharp killing intent flashed in Di Yuan's eyes, following which Zhang Xian raised his hand and made a grabbing motion, and 3 guards who were in the midst of a discussion in one of the side halls were forcefully pulled into the main hall. How dare you talk about me behind my back? Death! Di Yuan let out a thunderous shout. From the void of the main hall, streaks of astonishing lightning surged out and swiftly bombarded the 3 guards. A series of thunderous rumbles engulfed the 3 of them. When the lightning disappeared, the 3 of them had already turned into a pile of ashes. Di Yuan's anger had yet to subside. The sea of ashen flames. Song Yanhai entered the main palace in a flash. Saint, what are your orders? Seeing the ashes on the ground and sensing the terrifying lightning aura that still permeated the main hall, the divine light in Song Yanhai's eyes changed slightly. These are the guards you trained? How dare you talk about me behind my back? Do you still have me in your eyes? Di Yuan was burning with rage. He activated the Sanctum of Sage's divine power and ruthlessly bombarded Song Yanhai. Song Yanhai was an upper-tier chief god. His strength was indeed extraordinary. However, at this moment, he did not dare to resist in the slightest. Under the terrifying pressure of the Sanctum of Sages, he knelt on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Saint, please calm down, Song Yanhai said in a trembling voice. Di Yuan ignored Song Yanhai. Looking outside the main hall, incomparable resentment surged in his eyes. Su Fang, you've already died, yet you keep shaking my Taoist heart. Then I'll make sure you won't be able to rest in peace even after you die. Song Yanhai did not dare to answer. Di Yuan shouted, Ask the Divine Phoenix Clan's leader to come and see me immediately. Song Yanhai hesitated. Saint, what are you? Di Yuan sneered. I'm going to propose a marriage alliance to the Divine Phoenix Clan and let Huang Xuanxin become my cultivation partner. Within a month, I'm going to hold a marriage ceremony. Ah! Song Yanhai was dumbfounded. He was shocked. However, when he saw Di Yuan's crazy appearance, he swallowed the words of advice that were about to come out of his mouth. 3 days later, the news of Di Yuan's marriage alliance with the heavenly realm Dao Sanctum's genius, Huang Xuanxin, quickly spread throughout the entire Yuan Tiangong. Huang Xuanxin is Su Fang's cultivation partner. Su Fang just died not long ago, and Di Yuan can't wait to marry Huang Xuanxin. This is too much. He's crazy. This Di Yuan obviously failed to enter the heavenly worthy mountain and wants to vent his anger. What right does such a person have to become the Yuan Tiangong's saint? Why would Huang Xuanxin agree to the marriage alliance with Di Yuan? I heard that not only did Di Yuan force the Divine Phoenix Clan, but he also sent experts to shackle Huang Xuanxin's grandfather and Su Fang's father. If Huang Xuanxin did not agree, not only would the Divine Phoenix Clan suffer, but even Huang Xuanxin and Su Fang's relatives would be in trouble. How could she not agree? Su Fang was so arrogant and domineering back then. What about now? His cultivation partner is going to become someone else's woman. Serves him right. The news caused a huge commotion in the Yuan Tiangong. Some people were angry at Di Yuan's actions and even criticized the imperial people. Of course, there was no lack of people who were gloating. Just as this matter was causing an uproar, in the palace where the power of the Yuan Tiangong was concentrated, the supreme existence of the imperial people suddenly summoned all the venerable sovereigns. Ever since Di Yuan failed to enter the heavenly worthy mountain, the supreme existence of the imperial people had also fallen into silence. The venerable sovereigns were also in complete despair, and had made plans to stay in the Yuan Tiangong. Now that the supreme existence of the imperial people suddenly summoned all the venerable sovereigns, there must be another major event that would affect the outside world. In the palace, streams of primordial spirit consciousness quickly descended, condensing into the clones of the supreme sovereigns. Every supreme sovereign had a gloomy expression, mentally preparing for the worst. Everyone, this is good news. The supreme existence of the imperial people actually smiled, looking unprecedentedly relaxed. Good news? The world is about to be destroyed. What good news can there be? Could it be that the supreme heavenly venerables have awakened? The venerable sovereigns were all surprised, and there was a burst of discussion. Recently, the mountain guardian discovered that the river of heavenly order, which had been corrupted by the deathly aura, is gradually returning to normal. The deathly aura in the river of path is quickly purified, and the world is naturally returning to normal. Although the reason is unknown, one thing is certain. The world will naturally return to order soon. The chaos is about to end, and a catastrophe will be resolved. The mountain guardian speculated that Yuan must have broken into the heavenly worthy mountain and triggered some of the restrictions inside, causing the river of path to restore itself. Therefore, Yuan's trip to the heavenly worthy mountain was not a failure. At least, it was half a success. The supreme existence of the imperial people's words caused the venerable sovereigns to fall into a state of intense shock. Then, their eyes lit up, and they were both surprised and delighted. Good news, it was indeed good news. The venerable sovereigns discussed animatedly, and all of them were greatly spirited, sweeping away the depression and decadence they had felt since the failure of the heavenly worthy mountain. Emperor Sangqiu and Emperor Yi Dao looked at each other. Originally, they had planned to say a few words for Xuanxin, but at this moment, Yuan had become the savior of all the world. Anything they said was meaningless. The venerable sovereigns of the fire god Zhu clan suddenly spoke. I have something to ask the supreme existence of the imperial people for a favor. The supreme existence of the imperial people said majestically, Speak! Huang Xuanxin was once Su Fang's cultivation partner. Yuan is now forcefully forcing Huang Xuanxin to marry him, and it is unavoidably disappointing. My fire god Zhu clan owes Su Fang a favor. I hope that the supreme existence of the imperial people can persuade Yuan to give up on the marriage. The supreme existence of the imperial people said casually, I have also heard of this matter. This is a small matter between the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan and the imperial people. I will not interfere, and it is best that the fire god Zhu clan does not interfere. Then, he smiled faintly. Moreover, Yuan has saved the worlds and made great contributions. She is just a woman from the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. After he finished speaking, his figure disappeared from the throne without a trace. The venerable sovereigns of the fire god Zhu clan snorted and also disappeared. The news that the world was about to end the chaos quickly spread throughout the Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan heaven realm. Everyone fell into a state of shock and ecstasy. It was like a drowning person suddenly grasping at the last straw. How could they not be overjoyed? Yuan, like a divine sun rising in the sky, he shone brightly and received everyone's respect. As for the matter of him forcing Xuanxin to marry him, not only did people not think that he was overbearing or crazy, but they also felt that the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan and Xuanxin had gotten a great deal this time. It made people jealous. Heavenly Realm Dojo. Xuanxin sealed herself in the dojo. Ever since she knew that Yuan had proposed a marriage alliance with the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan and that the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan had agreed, she had not seen anyone. Outside the dojo, the clan leader of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan and Xuanxin's master were guarding the dojo to prevent Xuanxin from escaping. When the news of Yuan saving the world spread, the clan leader of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan was overjoyed. Yuan was originally the saint of the Yuan Tiangong and the number one genius. This time, he had made such a great contribution. It was not hard to imagine what kind of future he would have in the future. The marriage alliance between Xuanxin and Di Yuan was equivalent to the divine phoenix ancient clan clinging onto the supreme imperial people. With this relationship with Di Yuan, the divine phoenix ancient clan's heaven-defying rise was just around the corner. Even Xuanxin's master, who had always been opposed to Xuanxin and Di Yuan's marriage alliance, was pleasantly surprised when he heard the news. He tried his best to persuade Xuanxin. Could this be the so-called will of the heavens? Su Fang, I'm afraid I won't be able to wait until the day you return. In the dojo, Xuanxin had turned into an iceberg. There was a deathly stillness in her eyes. Heavenly realm. Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, Shu Yunkong, and the others were all in endless despair. The Lord of Five Poisons, Li Haojie, and Su Fang's best friends were all gnashing their teeth. Chapter 2336. People of the Square Heaven Realm, listen up! A majestic voice came from outside the Square Heaven Realm. It was the Imperial People's expert that Di Yuan had sent to guard the Square Heaven Realm. This person's cultivation level had reached that of an upper-rank lord. Di Yuan had sent him to the Square Heaven Realm to control Su Fang and Xuanxin's family and force Xuanxin to submit. The Holy Sun Di Yuan is about to hold a grand marriage ceremony. When the time comes, the Square Heaven Realm will be decorated with lanterns and colored banners. All the family members of Huang Xuanxin and Su Fang must be dressed in splendid attire and attend the ceremony. There must be no mistakes. The Imperial People's expert's voice echoed in the Square Heaven Realm. Forcing Xuanxin into a marriage and forcing Xuanxin and Su Fang to personally attend the marriage ceremony. Di Yuan was so overbearing. Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, and the others were all furious. The Ji people's third patriarch, Ji Lai's wanton laughter sounded again. The marriage between Huang Xuanxin and the Holy Sun Di Yuan is an unprecedented joyous event in all the world. I congratulate everyone here first. Congratulations, everyone. From now on, even chickens and dogs will rise to the heavens. Ha ha, pff. Xian Yintian's body swayed. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood before fainting. Su Yaotian gritted his teeth and clenched his fists so tightly that all 10 of his fingers were broken. Outside the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, on the Blood Wall, a Ji people's expert led hundreds of experts to the Blood Wall that was in charge of the Square Heaven Realm. Lord Ji Lai has instructed that in order to celebrate the marriage between Di Yuan and Huang Xuanxin, he will specially gift each cultivator of the Square Heaven Realm 100 supreme-grade pills. Everyone, this is all thanks to Huang Xuanxin. Congratulations! This Ji people's expert was a middle-aged man named Ji Shao. He wasn't very strong and only had early-stage Dao integration cultivation. Because he was born in the Ji people, Ji Shao had boundless power on the Blood Wall. Even the ordinary over-god experts guarding the Blood Wall were polite to him. At this moment, Ji Shao was smiling from ear to ear. However, the gaze he used to look at the god-fiend that resided in his second soul was filled with endless mockery and incomparable delight. The cultivators of the Heaven Realm on the Blood Wall were all angry, and their eyes were filled with humiliation. Swoosh! More than a dozen deities flew over. Congratulations to the Heaven Realm, congratulations to all of you. From now on, you will be able to climb to a higher branch, and your meteoric rise will be just around the corner. It turned out that they were experts from the Brahma Heaven God Realm and the Big Dipper sect. The patriarch of the Sanskrit sect and the sect master of the Big Dipper sect had also come in person. Of course, they weren't here to congratulate him, they were here to wantonly mock him. Scram! The god-fiend monster let out a murderous roar. Ji Shao, as well as the experts from Sanskrit and the Big Dipper sect, felt their bodies turn cold as they trembled. Ha ha! Your main body has already perished, and you can't even protect your Tao companion and have become Holy Sun Di Yuan's plaything. Let me see how long you can be arrogant for. Ji Shao laughed coldly and left with the Ji people's experts. The experts from Sanskrit and the Big Dipper sect also roared with laughter. They were very happy. The people of the heaven realm on the blood wall fell into silence. They were all like volcanoes that could erupt at any time. The god-fiend monster's eyes flashed with cold light as he muttered to himself, "My main body is almost back." Time flew by. Diyuan and Xuanxin's wedding ceremony was held as scheduled. At this time, Diyuan was like the sun at noon in the Yuan Tiangong. The higher-ups of the Yuan Tiangong wanted to encourage people, so this wedding ceremony was held in an extremely grand manner. In the Yuan Tiangong's heaven's pivot, the Yuan Tiangong experts built a huge golden and dazzling palace to hold the wedding ceremony. The four realms of the Yuan Tiangong, the inner space of the heaven's pivot, and the Hunyuan heaven were decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Even in the heaven realm, Ji Lai personally led people to decorate the place. Everywhere was filled with joy, but it was difficult to hide the incomparably strong hatred and anger. Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Shu Yunkong, Xian Lingzi, and other elders of Su Fang and Xuanxin. The Lord of Five Poisons, Li Haojie, and other friends of Su Fang. Even the clone that accompanied Su Fang's father from the outside world were all shackled by the imperial people and brought to the Yuan Tiangong's heaven's pivot to participate in the wedding ceremony. Heaven Realm Dao Sect. Xuanxin sat cross-legged in the depths of the palace's array. His eyes were cold and strangely calm. With a flip of his right hand, a broken cauldron appeared in his hand. It was not a divine artifact, but a Dao artifact. This broken cauldron was the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. When Xuanxin was forcibly taken in as a disciple by Fairy Frozen Dream, before she left, Su Fang left the Thunder Punishment Cauldron and a clone by her side. After so many years, Xuanxin still kept the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. With her current status, she naturally did not lack peerless Dharma treasures. However, in her heart, no Dharma treasure could replace the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. The scene of meeting the constellation of 9 heavens, the experience in the outside world, and the God realm kept flashing in Xuanxin's mind. The corner of her mouth could not help but curl up into a smile. Xuanxin, the auspicious hour has arrived. The imperial people have arrived. It's time to move. The majestic voice of the clan leader of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan came from outside the array space. Xuanxin carefully put away the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. Her eyes instantly turned cold. Then, she took out a fiery red pill with her left hand and swallowed it. This pill was called Nirvana? This was a peerless pill of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Some cultivators of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan who had no hope of breaking through would swallow Nirvana? This pill had a slight chance. Nirvana? Rebirth could not only allow one to break through the bottleneck of cultivation, but also greatly improve one's cultivation. In the history of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, there was a godly venerable cultivator who, seeing that his life was about to end, decided to swallow Nirvana? This pill was like Nirvana? Later, the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan not only broke through the bottleneck of cultivation, but also became a peerless god. However, after consuming Nirvana? This pill could successfully become Nirvana? The hope was very slim. There were very few successful cultivators like that peerless god in the history of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. After consuming Nirvana? Once the pill failed, there was no doubt that the cultivator would die. Therefore, Nirvana? This pill was regarded by the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan as a suicide pill. Xuanxin changed into a snow-white robe. With a smile on her face, she slowly walked out of the array space. Outside the blood wall, the resurrected cultivators clearly knew that the Hunyuan Heaven Realm was celebrating the marriage between Diyuan and Xuanxin. The real cultivators of the blood wall had gone to the Yuan Tiangong and launched the most ferocious attack on the blood wall. Countless resurrected powerhouses converged into a vast ocean and swept towards the blood wall. Urgent alarms rang out, spreading throughout the entire blood wall and into the Hunyuan heaven realm. Above the blood wall, many cultivators projected their sensing abilities and sensed the tide of resurrected cultivators. Their faces turned ashen. Not only were there many resurrected cultivators, but there were also powerful cultivators who had never made a move before. There were even many overgods among them. Most of the Yuan Tiangong cultivators guarding the blood wall had gone to the Yuan Tiangong to participate in the marriage ceremony between Diyuan and Xuanxin. There were not many overgods left on the blood wall. How could they fight against so many resurrected cultivators? Shocked, the cultivators all contacted the Hunyuan heaven realm and the Yuan Tiangong. Defend the blood wall. When the marriage ceremony is over, the Yuan Tiangong cultivators will naturally make a move. The marriage ceremony of Diyuan's holy son is a top priority. Many cultivators have no time to spare. The reply from the Yuan Tiangong cultivators made all the cultivators on the blood wall feel despair. Boom! The resurrected cultivators slammed into the blood wall like raging waves crashing against the shore. Boom! 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 Countless resurrected cultivators self-destructed at the same time. Dozens of resurrected cultivators with strength comparable to overgods attacked the same section of the blood wall at the same time. The sturdy blood wall was shaken and the barrier shattered. The resurrected cultivators swept toward the blood wall like locusts, bringing with them a monstrous aura of death. They instantly swallowed up sections of the defensive line. The defensive line that the celestial realm was in charge of was also breached in an instant. Master, the Yuan Tiangong, Imperial people, and Ji people are bullying our celestial realm. Why should we defend the blood wall for them? Retreat. Retreat to the celestial realm. The celestial realm cultivators were desperate and unwilling. They all roared at the second primordial spirit. Wait a little longer. The second primordial spirit said coldly. Then, he activated the yin-yang god demon's power and charged toward the resurrected cultivators. In less than half an hour, the blood wall collapsed. The defensive lines fell one after another. Countless cultivators died and were mercilessly devoured by the resurrected cultivators. The resurrected cultivators spread like a tide, sweeping toward the Hunyuan heaven realm's world barrier. They launched a frenzied attack, even self-destructing to shake the world barrier. Whoosh! The god-fiend monster's astonishing strength attracted the attention of the powerful cultivators among the resurrected cultivators. A resurrected god-fiend with the strength of an upper-rank lord killed 7 Yuan Tiangong lord powerhouses guarding the blood wall in succession. Then, he charged toward the god-fiend monster. Boom! 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 The god-fiend monster and the resurrected god-fiend engaged in an earth-shattering battle. The second primordial spirit's primordial spirit power was extremely powerful, and it also possessed Night Demon's primordial spirit divine ability. The god-fiend monster's physical body was also extremely tough. The yin-yang god demon's power of fusion was unique and powerful. However, at this moment, the second primordial spirit was facing a resurrected god-fiend comparable to an upper-rank lord. The disparity was too great. The second primordial spirit's strength was far beyond its limit. The god-fiend monster's physical body crumbled layer by layer. It was heavily injured. The black mark that the second primordial spirit resided in was also a primordial spirit flame formed by the evil aura of death. As the illusory and evil flame burned wildly, the black mark actually melted. The second primordial spirit was also heavily injured. Boom! The Hunyuan Heaven Realm's world barrier was breached. The resurrected cultivators were like a mountain torrent that suddenly found a place to vent. They surged wildly into the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. To think that there is such a unique existence like you among the humans. It's a pity that you still can't escape death. The resurrected godfiend smiled savagely and was about to kill the second primordial spirit. At this moment, the godfiend monster suddenly grinned. The second primordial spirit's cold voice rang out, "You should be the one to die." Swoosh! A golden rainbow suddenly appeared from nothingness. Then, it cut through the void and tore through the overflowing aura of death. In a flash, it appeared outside the blood wall. Golden light flashed, and a figure appeared. It seems that I'm not too late. That person's divine light swept out, taking in everything around him. His gaze suddenly turned sharp. The next moment, boom! A flame divine might that carried an astonishing aura of pure yang erupted along with the divine might of the world barrier, enveloping all directions. The void within 1,000,000 miles of the blood wall instantly turned into a world of flames that burned the sky. Shrill screams rang out in the world of flames that had an astonishing ability to restrain evil aura. Countless resurrected cultivators were burned to ashes in the flames. That's Su Feng, who was once ranked first on the assassination list. He's actually still alive.